'Cause you're only a man, and a man's got to learn to take it. Try to believe, though the going gets rough, that you gotta hang tough to make it. History repeats itself, try and you succeed. Never doubt that you're the one, and you can have your dream. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna happen.
Hello and welcome to episode 28, Dial H For Heroclix. I'm your host, Hunter Smith. With me today are the other two counterparts that make up the three amigos, Drew Alderson and Austin Smith. I about called you Andrew Smith for some reason.
Andros.
Today's cast we're going to do our very first annual awards ceremony. It's going to be the Best of 2013 awards, and in both Clix and comics.
It's huge.
We'll go over some spoilers, and we'll talk about dial design and do a featured dial for week 1. And comics-wise, we're going to be discussing Marvel Now Nova, which is a really good series.
I don't know. Austin might have something to say about that.
We'll get into that later.
It's okay.
Let's start off with some what we played. Good news is Drew is on days now. We're very happy about that. He actually gets to play with us on Wednesdays now.
Yep.
So,
Hey, board game night. High five, buddy.
You got a hair appointment.
Oh.
And I gotta think it's gotta be better, like, sleeping wise too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You know, being asleep when the sun's down and awake when the sun's up.
It's nicer.
It's gotta be a lot better than working late shift. But Drew gets to go to GP with us now. Wednesday at GP was 500 points. We were competing for the White Lantern Batman, and on your team you had to have at least one lantern figure, like with a lantern keyword, or a Batman on your team. 500 points DC only, figures, just figures only actually.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you end up playing, Drew?
Really weird team. I can't even remember what I played. It feels like forever. It was my lantern piece was Larfleeze, the one that makes constructs. I think he's from the War of the Light starter, or is that?
The one that makes
he's from DC 75th.
Yeah, the one that makes constructs was the super rare one.
Yeah. And let's see here. Man, who did I play? I played Grodd from the LE from Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
I played
DC
Calendar Man.
I played Calendar Man, and I played DC 10 for Lex Luthor. So I played a kind of weird team. It was good. I built over because I was a dumbass and thought it was 600 points. So I built over.
We didn't realize it till after me and your game was already over.
And I did pretty bad, but it's okay, really. I mean, it was a rough day, but it's like the guy who gets initiated into the suburban racial gang.
How'd you end up doing, and what was kind of the idea behind the synergy for the team?
I got dead last. There was no idea for synergy. I just wanted to play pieces.
I wonder if those two things correspond to each other, or correlated.
No, my team wasn't bad. It's just built over.
It wasn't necessarily correlation as much as causation.
Well, wait until we get into my team today, and then you'll be impressed,
I
alright?
don't want to talk about today. Can we forget today happened?
Nope, we gotta talk about it.
We can forget Wednesday happened, but guess what? We can't forget today happened.
Austin, what did you play Wednesday?
I played a Sinestro Corps team involving Mongol, Manhunter Grandmaster, Lysa Drac, and Amun Sur. I've never played any of those figures before, but I've played against them, and I really wanted to try them out. The team was really good. Like, I really liked that team. The thing was, they suffer from old figure syndrome, where either they're really overcosted for their stats compared to modern pieces, or none of them had Indom. So I got out of action pretty bad in a lot of games against modern pieces. I think I went 2-1 overall. Basically, I played probably I say this almost every week, but I had probably one of the best games I've played. Like, I laughed the entire time. Good buddy Dwayne was playing a bunch of White Lanterns.
Yeah, and we did not cease to give him shit
we gave him crap for it the entire time. And he was playing White Lantern Flash, White Lantern Batman, in an event to win a White Lantern Batman.
Which I thought was just the most
It
meta
was
thing.
salt in the wound.
I just thought that was the most meta thing ever. Like Batman, White Lantern Batman being played in an event for White Lantern Batman.
He played White Lantern Ice and White Lantern Green Arrow. And so our game, I kind of took the lead ahead of time. Knocked out White Lantern Bats real quick. Was working on Green Arrow, knocked him out, got Ice down low, and White Lantern Flash he's scary as hell when he has a gauntlet, but without a gauntlet, he is a much more tolerable threat.
If you play him right, though, he's still ridiculous.
With 14 hypersonic, yeah. If you can,
well, and he has 8 range, so he's got an 18 square swing if you do ranged
I
attacks.
forgot about that.
Yeah, everybody does. Even when you're playing, I've seen people never do a ranged attack with him and use that full movement, and I'm like, you're an idiot. You have 8 range with your hypersonic. Sorry.
Basically, I was using Outwit to keep White Lantern Flash down. I kept outwitting his hypersonic and kind of locking him in. He only has like a 3 damage on his top click. So I was using Amonsur's Perplex that I pushed him on to keep him down to a 2 damage so he couldn't hurt Mongol or Manhunter Grandmaster. And then I would outwit his hypersonic while handling his other pieces. Well, it comes down to the point where eventually he picked off everybody, and it was just Manhunter Grandmaster and White Lantern Flash. And Manhunter Grandmaster has a special defense power in his last 2 clicks, where he can use Regen as a free action at the beginning of your turn, but he can't use it any other way. So, between White Lantern Flash's healing abilities and stop click, and my free regens, we probably spent 30 to 40 turns, like in turbo mode, just back and forth smacking each other and healing. And the game ender was Manhunter Grandmaster swings at Flash, needs a 10 to hit, and I rolled double 5s. So I punch him for 3 or 4, knock him into a wall after he hits his stop click, and so he took the 1 damage after he hit the stop click. Oh, it was just so much fun. Like, I hate stop clicks. Like, they're some of the most annoying things to fight against sometimes. But his in particular, on top of that shape change that heals him and all that other stuff, is just annoying. As I said, I think I went 2-1 overall. It was a good team. It was just... And it had a lot of stuff. Like, I like that Mongol a lot. Compared to modern PCs, he's not as good, but he has, like, TK Pinsai as his attack power. He can use Phasing Teleport as a trait, and if an enemy uses Phasing Teleport, they have to take 1 unavoidable. So, basically, I can keep opponents, like, heavy phasing characters, like, locked down a little bit, or characters that are prone to phasing then regenning or something like that. Really have issues against that because they can either take the click and maybe die, or they can hope they have another regen click and stick there in the thick of things. Lysa Drac is really good for her points. Like, I liked her before, and then this is the first time I had a chance to play her, and I'm in love with that piece. Like, if we do any Warlight constructed stuff after Warlight, I'm really considering putting her on a team if we don't get a better version of her. Amonsur was kind of cool. He was more of a filler piece. He can transport, or no, he can't fly, can he?
Which one?
Amonsur.
I can't remember. I'll look it up while you're talking.
I either used him. I would push him on purpose to put him on Perplex.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah, I would use him to move and carry other people, and then I would push him onto Perplex after that. But he also has Energy Explosion with an okay range and everything. I mean, he's not a bad piece. And Manhunter Grandmaster is a monster. Like that piece, especially with Mongol. Because Manhunter Grandmaster starts out, he's basically kind of like a beater piece. He gets a Ranged Combat Expert, Hypersonic, I think.
Yep.
And so I would TK him up with Lysa. And just... It was ridiculous. Mongol would be shooting pin size next to Manhunter, who drops onto enhancement after he's hit. And then Manhunter would have pin size on his enhanced clicks, and it was just so much damage down range. I really like Sinestro Corps teams. I'd like to play some more of them.
Manhunter is mainly made to be played on robot teams.
That was the one thing. I didn't have anything to take advantage of that.
Yeah, he has the trait where he basically lets other robots get a sidestep, and that's not even like within so many squares. It's just straight on the map. You know, like they get to move, which isn't as good as Ultron, and Iron Man, but it's the fact that he can mix and match that with any.
It's
robot.
1 square if they're any robot. It's 3 if they're Manhunters.
Right, but yeah. So I mean, at least with the Ultron drones and the And the Iron Man, they can move farther, but they're, only on Iron Man or only on whatever. He just lets any robot.
I kind of wonder if we'll see Manhunters as one of the generics in the War of the Light.
I would really like it because the other ones that work with him, the other Manhunters,
are really meh.
Yeah, they're very meh.
Because I thought about playing a Manhunter team, and I just didn't really like them that much.
Yeah, I've recently tried to build a good one around him, and it's hard to do. It's hard to get a good one, at least. I ran a Justice League team, and I really wanted this prize, so I actually played a better team than I usually do. I played a Justice League theme. I had both Green Lantern and Batman on my team, so I hit both of those requirements. I did that requirement pretty easily. I had the Green Lantern from Justice League New 52 Fast Forces, the 100-point one. I really like that figure. He's got Green Lantern team ability, and I kind of built the team around the Green Lantern team ability because all my other pieces besides him are not flying, so they can be carried.
Yeah.
And I had John Constantine. I had the Wonder Woman from the Fast Forces from Justice League who can charge after she gets carried. And I played Batman, my favorite Batman, the DC anniversary one, the one
God, I hate that one.
It's like 63 points, and he has like a 12 attack, double bolt in cap outwit.
He's
A
really good.
63-point character should never, under any circumstance, have 12 attacks.
Guess what? Look at the skull, but yeah, go ahead.
And then our main man, Black Lightning, who is amazing.
You said under any circumstance.
And then I played 80-point Green Arrow from the Anniversary set, who I haven't played since RCE got buffed. And like I said, the point was to move the team up as a whole with the Green Lantern team ability. What I usually would do was my first turn, if I had to go first, I would move everybody up separately and not give away what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. I would keep them next to each other. Then I would clear and then hope that the opponent would double token themselves, which they usually did. And then I'm like, boom, my whole team is in your face and just move for one action, and you had to clear everybody. Yeah. So it paid off pretty well. My third opponent was also playing Green Lantern team ability piece, and I was like, well, he already knows what it does, so I'm not going to get him with this trick. But for the most part, it kind of surprised people. And I was going for in-cap. Black Lightning has triple bolt sharpshooter if you let him use in-cap. And he also has Outsider's team ability. So what I was doing was picking maps and hiding my dudes in hindering and shooting through hindering on purpose so that I could Outsiders and they wouldn't get the bonuses and energy shield against me, but I would get it when they tried to shoot me. Plus I had John Constantine, so they can't prob. And it worked really well.
I've talked about that Black Lightning because I ran him on that Meteor Shower team. You suggested him to me. He's a monster, dude. Like, really, for his points.
He's one of the better pieces that we got last year. Honestly, he's extremely efficient. He has willpower, running shot, and a special attack ability that gives him energy explosion and psychic blast, and then it gives him in-cap, and on in-cap he gets 8 range and sharpshooter, or triple bolt and sharpshooter. And that's an interesting combination because if you use, and I got to do this once during the tournament, if you use in-cap and people forget, now with the new PAC, if you already have 2 tokens and you get hit with in-cap, that 1 damage that you take isn't unavoidable, it's penetrating. So you can trigger energy explosion off of that.
Since you used a ranged combat action.
Since I did a ranged combat action that did damage, not unavoidable pushing damage, it did 1 penetrating damage. Since I did that, somebody took damage. Now I can trigger energy explosion off of that. Or you could go for the psychic blast, hit 1 person, and then penetrating for 1 bolt on everybody next to him and do the 1 damage. So it was pretty. He's just a ridiculously good team. I really think
people are forgetting that Outsiders exists. Like during the Batman era, a lot of people were running a lot of Outsiders pieces to handle the combat values from Belt.
Yeah. And
now that we have like Book of Skulls and stuff, like no one's running Outsiders, and there's some pretty solid pieces among them still.
The problem with most Outsiders are they're really expensive.
Yeah.
And the good thing about Black Lightning is, even if he didn't have that team ability, he's worth his points without it. And so when you take a piece like him who only costs around 80 points and is that good, and then you throw Outsiders on him, is just like icing on the cake, man.
Having an in-cap piece on a team, period, is always a good thing, and a lot of people don't really fill that in on their roles. So to throw such a good end cap piece that has sharpshooter and all that jazz is monstrous.
So I was just triple bolt in capping with both Batman and Black Lightning have willpower.
Mm-hmm.
So each turn, Black Lightning's shooting 3 people with prob behind him from John Constantine, and in capping 3 people. Batman's in capping two more, and I just boom every turn. And then that way, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern can go around and take their shots, and Green Arrow can sit in stealth and use Range Combat Expert and take a shot. So usually what I would do was pick one person that I'm going to go after that turn, Outsiders them, because another thing that Outsiders has over Perplex is
It doesn't go
when
away.
you take damage, Perplex goes away, Outsiders doesn't go away. And not only that, when it's their turn, it's going to keep them from using things like Close Combat Expert, Super Strength, and stuff like that. So it's so good.
It literally locks down like 5 or 6 powers.
I was
It's
playing
crazy.
Lockdown, and I hate using Lockdown because I feel like it frustrates people, and I kind of feel bad, but it's a legitimate way, it's a legitimate strategy, and it has its pros and cons because I wasn't dishing out barely any damage, to be honest. I mean, I had Batman who could outwit, and then I could get some damage thrown on people, but I wasn't dishing out much damage. It took me a long time to pick people off, but they couldn't retaliate very often because I had the 5 incaps coming out.
Yeah, it also would have been screwed had he gone up against one of those Atrocituses that gives everyone Battle Fury.
Yeah, but his is only within so many squares.
Yeah, but he could give it to all his allies, and then you wouldn't be able to hit him with Incap.
Oh yeah, good point. It was a good team. I went 2-1, and the game I lost, I was destroying my opponent pretty much. It wasn't really that close, but time ran out, and I had over 300, almost 400 points worth of figures, with maybe 3 clicks between the two of them. Like, they were all almost dead, and my remaining dudes were like pretty much full health. But time ran out, and I mean, that's my own fault. And after that game, I started keeping my own clock on my phone, and that's just something that I need to start doing.
That's also a problem with in-cap teams in general because they slow the game down so much.
Yeah. But the game I lost, I was winning big time. So the team did really well. And I went 2-1, had a good time, and I love a lot of those pieces, especially Black Lightning and that Batman. Both are a couple of my favorites. Wonder Woman is really good, but she doesn't hit hard enough.
Which Wonder Woman?
The one that she's from the Fast Forces, and after you carry, she can do a non-free action after she's carried. She can charge and hit, but then she only hits she's like a 10 and a 3. I'll pull
Does
her
she have
up.
super strength?
No, and the thing is, I was gonna say if you use utility belt with her, she's
'Cause
very
I think
good.
that's what Ricky used to do. Is put
Yeah,
utility
well,
belt.
that's what everybody would do. You take her and Barda. You give Wonder Woman the utility belt with Suit of Sorrows. Barda does her giant teleport, takes Wonder Woman with her. Barda hits you, and then Wonder Woman comes in with heavy and hits you as well.
Yeah.
And or picks up a heavy on her way because you can't carry people who are holding heavies. But with just by herself, she doesn't hit hard enough. She's an 11 and a 3, and then she picks up blades, but not till later. And she doesn't have charge when she has that, and she does not have willpower. But with belt, she's very, very good. Or even with hammers, I guess she'd be better. But by herself in a straight up game like that, she was not near. I would say she's barely worth her points because she's pretty pricey, 100 points. But with belt, she becomes a whole different monster. We all had a good time. Today we played 500-point comic book covers for Marvel, and
I don't want to talk about it.
Austin doesn't want to talk about his team. We won't make him. Just at least tell
I'll talk about my team.
Well, just real quick, tell the people what team you played.
I played the Circle of 4. I borrowed a Venom LE because I've really been wanting to play him. I ran the Red Hulk, the 178 point. I think he's the main set one from Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
He's the one that has the 2-range poison that deals 2 to people next to him, which is monstrous.
I
People
love
weren't
him
expecting
so
it.
much.
I ran X-23, the X-Force version, and I ran old school Catch Ghost Rider from Fantastic Forces, which honestly was a really star piece for being so old. I ran the newer Fantastic Four ATA on him. The newer Fantastic Four ATA gives the character +1 attack when they target a character with Indom, Giant, or Colossal, which he's an older piece, so that ATA is really good on him because that put him at an 11 attack, which is pretty, for 1 point, against most pieces, because a lot of pieces have Indom these days. He himself is a 12 range. He has move and attack, or he has transporter. 12 movement, 8 range, 10 pin psi, 11 with the ATA. And then he has invul for his first few clicks. He was a really good piece. I enjoyed him. X-23 was kind of a letdown. She starts with stealth. She doesn't have any move and attack. And her defense, although she gets super senses, really drops off really quick. There were a few games, or I shouldn't say a few games, but 1 or 2 games where I had chances to regen back up, and it kept her alive a lot longer, and she was hitting super sense rolls. But she's only got like 5 or 6 clicks, and if she gets blasted once, like, she's out of the game. Red Hulk is a monster if he's left alone. It's another case of a piece that if your opponent has outwit can completely pretty much shut down. Because he has a special leap climb for his movement ability starting out, where if he moves half his distance, he can use a close combat attack. So it's kind of like a crappy charge plus leap climb. But then he drops into the special poison, and he actually picks up heavier defense as he gets down dial. So he goes from toughness to invul to imperv. And then the Venom. The Venom, I want to love the piece. I've tried so hard to love it. I've tried to justify its terribleness sometimes, but for its points, it's definitely not worth it. Traded stealth and shape change is great. If you can get lucky as hell and hit that shape change constantly, which my first game I did hit that shape change a lot, he can maybe earn his points back. He really needs a resource, though. Without a resource, he's meh. He has no indom. Well, I'll go ahead and explain him real quick. He starts out on a click that's 11 attack, 3 damage. He has 6 range, double bolt. He has a special movement ability where if he occupies your starting area, he can move up to 14 squares and use the flight ability, not has the flight symbol, so he can't carry for that. So, first turn, you drop him wherever you want him. He has stealth and shape change. He has sharpshooter, shield, TA, all that stuff for 159 points. Really what you want to do is push him onto his second click where he picks up pin psi and running shots, so at least he can be on the move, shooting from hindering to hindering. He has this weird like back and forth on his dial. He goes from running shot, pin psi, invul to all orange click to running shot, pin psi, toughness to all orange click. And then he has 2 Blades Flurry, Super Sense clicks, and a regen, basically naked click at the bottom with 16 defense. He was pretty much a letdown. I didn't have any good chances. It's hard to get him in to get damage off with his Charge Flurry Blades, usually because he is a ranged piece. For him to drop onto that at the end was kind of sucky, because people usually weren't up on... they'd get up on him, but they would either destroy objects out from under him or whatever, and then he would just be left alone with flurry blades. I'd have to waste a turn to move up, and then I have to push him to take damage if I want to actually swing the next turn. So I kept pushing him, and I had a lot of problems. My first game, I rolled 4 crit misses with him alone, and that was crazy bad luck. Both times, it sucked because I flurry bladesed, and I crit missed one of them. I was like, crap. So, second one, I missed the attack. Next turn, I was like, you know what? I'm going to push him and do it. So I push him, I flurry blades to kill off Dracula pretty much, and I push, take a damage, I roll a crit miss, so I take 2 damage, and I'm dead after the action. It was horrible.
That does suck.
He's a cool piece. He's really... I feel like if I had a good shield team that played off of him, I could enjoy him a lot more. He really needs a support team built around him, and he needs either utility belt or Noel's hammer to make the most out of him.
Problem with him, I've always said, is you look at his dial, it's a pretty well built dial, and the traded shape change and stealth too. Like he's a good dial, and his problem is he's too fucking expensive. Like, why the 159 point price
For
tag
8 clicks
on this click? Like, and no willpower either. Like, yes, he's very good. I like the way he plays. I like the way he doesn't always have move and attack. I like the traded stealth and shape change and the sharpshooter with 2 bolts. But why the hefty price tag on this guy?
And look at his defense values. They're always 17s or 16s for 159 points. Even with shape change as a trait, like, that is absurdly low pretty much compared to a lot of modern 159s.
He's a definite finesse piece, but I feel like even when you play him perfectly, he still isn't quite worth his points. Doesn't quite live up to it. Drew, what did you run?
I ran, Chaos War Vision, the Marquee. I ran Secret Invasion Doctor Strange. I ran Scarlet Witch from Chaos War Starter Set, or Fast Forces. And I ran Beast from Wolverine and the X-Men.
The team-based Beast?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about him before. Like, he's really good.
He's ridiculous. Team did really well. I went 2-1. Basically, the idea of this team is that I put Midnight Suns on Doctor Strange, and he would sit in stealth and, perp and incap and shoot at 10 range, ignoring characters and ignoring stealth. And I would... Vision's a powerhouse. Like, he's literally... He's just a beast.
And he's one of the single most annoying pieces ever made.
I don't agree with that, but...
He's got like a 10 phasing teleport and like so many clicks a region. You're just like, oh, I got low. All the way across the map.
I don't think he has any region.
I thought he had, unless I'm thinking of a different Vision.
Yeah.
I thought he got late dial phase region, but I could be wrong.
He might...
You may just have never gotten him down that far, Lucky.
I don't know. I mean, he died my first game, but he kind of got smoked.
He doesn't have regen.
Yeah.
He has the impervious that can't be countered.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
And he has the phasing, the special little phasing.
Oh, yeah, if they roll a 6, they have to re-roll.
That's nice, man.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were hitting all their attacks without 6s. But,
And Armor Robot.
Oh, yeah.
Defense.
But no one was playing Armor Robot.
But that's crazy because he's a...
Glad I didn't play
He's
that.
a 20 defense against 2 common generic keywords,
Yep.
and then his imperv can't be countered.
He's insane. He's nuts. He's
And
great.
he has an 8 range outwit.
And he's only 4 stars on HE rounds. But
Like everything.
He is pretty pricey, but I think he's worth his points.
I mean, he's got 8 range. You can use outwit. I mean, he's nuts. But yeah, first game I went up against an all Fear Itself team. I did really well. I started out by just hitting the crap out of Black Widow for 7, and I was like, all right. But then I realized, oh wait, everyone on his team has top clicks. Every single one. And they all have Endom, and he just out-actioned me, and there was nothing I could do. This team is really... I mean, the 2 biggest problems with this team are lack of move and attack and lack of Endom, although Vision does have Endom. And he's your main attacker. So, that's good.
Who else was on the team besides Vision?
Scarlet Witch.
We already know what she does. 50 points version.
Yeah. Secret Invasion Doctor Strange.
Who is ridiculous.
He's insanely good.
Wild card, sits in stealth, ignores hindering and characters. Plus the ATA, so what? You can copy Mystics from Switch.
Yep.
Stealth from the ATA.
Stealth from the ATA.
That was a good idea, actually. That was a good little ATA to throw on there.
Yeah. He's basically just going to sit back and, and no one went after him, which was the strange thing. No one bothered to go after him.
Was that pun intended or unintended?
Both.
I've played him a couple times, and he's straight nasty. And I have not played him since that ATA came out. Well, that was a genius idea, because usually if you're playing wildcard games with him and you try to give him stealth from a team ability, like Batman or something like that, and then you try to give him Mystics, like, you can't copy both at the same time, before you switch your team. But with that ATA, then you get the stealth from the ATA, and then you can copy a team ability, and you are able to use, now you do have stealth and Mystics at the same time on that guy.
Just got to make sure you don't push him off top click.
Yeah. Well, and even when he goes off of top
he
click,
gets energy explosion.
yeah, he still is solid his whole until he gets real late dial, he still is very solid.
Even then, if you're like using hammers, he's still like he gets on the Pensai and he gets his perplex back.
He picks up outwit too, and an outwit that's going through hindering and characters. So.
Yeah, forgot about the perplex, by the way, which gives if you roll a 5 or 6, you get +2 or -2.
Yeah, and there's no stipulation like no damage, no nothing. It's straight. You know, you can do
it's
damage
just,
if you want.
you knew what you want.
Yeah, I like that piece a lot. And you had somebody else. Oh, Beast.
Oh, Beast. Beast is ridiculous.
Yeah. See, I've yet to play him, but Austin's played him now, and some of our other friends have played him, and all like him. And I like his dial, but I have not got to try him.
He's an amazing tie-up piece and secondary attacker. He's like on teams with hammers. He's probably just gonna like. His biggest problem is lack of move and attack. No one on this team has move and attack. No one at any point. None.
He does. Doesn't he have sidestep though? At least.
Yes, he has.
So he has kind of like mini
sidestep
attack.
is amazing. And
so what was your final final score and
I went 2-1 and I got like 5th or 6th place. I don't remember. It wasn't bad. I did okay.
I went 2-1. The one that I lost was a really close match. I was playing an X-Force cover of the new X-Force book, the Cable in the X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to put a bunch of pieces on that I have yet to try. I played the Cable from GSX that a lot of people have played him against me. I've yet to got to use him myself. So this was the perfect time. I played him. I played Forge, who I hadn't got to play yet. I played Tabitha, who I haven't got to play yet. Domino, who I have played before and always enjoy.
Yep.
And from GSX. And Colossus from AVX, the 125-point version. And the kind of the thought behind it is, for one, it was just a bunch of pieces I wanted to try. The team overall lacks willpower and lacks move and attack, but it has a lot of stealth and a lot of range.
Mm-hmm.
And I also gave them the X-Force ATA so that they could ignore hindering, because hardly any of them moved. Yeah, I don't think any of them except Colossus ignored hindering when they moved through it. So that ATA let me pick hindering heavy maps and let them run in, move into stealth, and then make my opponents, deal with moving in on me. So it worked really well. It worked way better than I thought it would. I thought I would get smoked because the team wasn't really that good, but you've got the trait from Forge lets you heal the Colossus back up.
Yeah.
The Colossus either has imperv or invincible, like almost his whole dial.
It's ridiculous, actually.
And you got to think you have the free action from the trait healing coupled with the X-Men team ability.
Yep.
And then what I would usually do is move Colossus into like a building or something and bust through some blocking, but not all the way, so that he's hiding, waiting to just pop out and hit somebody because he busts through blocking when he moves in. I would eat an object with Forge. He would have Perplex for the rest of the game. And then use him as a medic for Colossus. So Colossus would go out, do his thing. I'd have Cable and Domino sit in stealth. They both have stealth and 8 range, top dial. And I would just kind of put Domino where she can see everybody for prop. And I'd have Tabitha sit on an object because she has an energy shield and a 17. So on top of an object, she's a 20 from range. And I would rush out Colossus, hit somebody, and then tie up as many people as I could, and then have Tabby throw out her boom boom bombs.
Yeah.
And the way that works is you give her a power action, you choose 2 squares that are within 6 range line of fire, and you put a hindering terrain marker on each of them. And they can't be next to each other. That's the only other stipulation. But you put out the 2 markers, and then at the beginning of your turn you remove them, and it deals damage like the gas pellets. Except the square that the marker occupies, it does 2 normal, not penetrating. And then everywhere adjacent it does 1. And there were often times where I would throw it on, if I could only see the square my Colossus was on, I'd throw it on my own Colossus because he has impervious. And then he has 3 people tied up, and they're all going to take 1 when the bomb goes off.
Yeah.
And if I put another bomb, next to the other side of him, then they all take another one. So the damage really added up. And then they would move in to try to take her out, and I kind of tried to line it up where Nobody knew what Tabby did.
Yeah.
And then they got hit by a bomb once or twice, and they're like, shit, I needed to go charge this Tabitha. So at the beginning of the game, I would always have Domino and Cable where they could see on each side of Tabitha, so whoever came after her, no matter what square they went in, they were going to get shot when they moved in, and I was stealth. So it worked really nicely. The game I lost was against AVX Spider-Man, full points. Fear Itself. Fear Itself, Doctor Strange, and Fear Itself, Dracula. Really nasty team. I didn't think I stood a chance because for one, I had yet to kill that Spider-Man, and the million times I've faced him now, it's just too good.
Stupid.
And couple that with the fact that my team has no movement attack except or willpower except for Colossus, and he went after Colossus first, hit him, but Colossus lived. Instead of, I could have rushed in Colossus to try to get a retaliation swing on Spidey, but I decided to play it safe and run him back and run Forge back to meet him. Free action heal. Mm-hmm. Beginning of turn, he has a clear Spider-Man. Free action heal again. X-Men team ability on Colossus. And boom, bam, what do you know? He's back up to top click again. And he's like, you're top click already? I'm like, yeah, Forge
doesn't play.
Forge is a one-man pit crew, man. And I can't wait to try him with a vehicle, too. He does the same thing.
Abby.
But it's really the trait coupled with X-Men is what really heals you up really quick. So I healed him back up top click. I took out Strange with some bombs and with a hit from Colossus. I finally took out Spider-Man. I kind of tried to stay far enough back where if he did do his movement attack and then moved away, he couldn't get at least out of range of Domino and Cable, who could then take some shots. So I finally picked off Spider-Man, but the problem was Dracula had gotten to top click, and you never want to let the Dracula get to top click.
Dear Lord, no.
He had Cable, if you guys aren't familiar with him, he's 140 points, and he's at his top dial. The first few clicks, you're like, man, this thing sucks for 140 points. But then when you get to his late dial, first of all, he's very deep.
Yeah.
And once you get to his late dial, like around click 6, 7, 8, 9, he's got Impervious, Hypersonic, Psychic Blast, Barrier, Defend, Leadership, Flight. Like, he gains all this stuff. And he hit me onto Hypersonic, and I used that to break away from Drac and go hit Spider-Man and finish him off. And I was like, okay, I got a full health Dracula to deal with, and all I have is Domino, Tabitha, and Colossus, who is taken quite a beating at this point, and Forge is gone, so I'm not going to be able to heal him back up.
Yeah.
And Dracula's top clicks, I'm like, well, I'm screwed. He rushes in, kills Cable, and he's next to Domino. Domino missed her first attack. I probed, and she rolled a crit. And the awesome thing about Domino is when she crits, she deals an extra 3 instead of an extra 1.
Yep.
So she knocked him off Imperv, knocked him down, and the other guys knocked him down. I almost had him dead, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to win against this team. But in typical Dracula fashion, he just kept flurrying and just healed him back up, and I couldn't deal with that. That Dracula, the one thing that Drac has going for him over the Spider-Man one, I still kind of like the Spider-Man one better, but the one thing the FI one has over the ASM is all these clicks of Impervious.
And they can be countered.
Yeah, well, once he gets healed up to the better ones, it can't be countered. But he still has his first 3 clicks off of his starting still have 3 clicks of Impervious and then 2 clicks of Invul. And he has Outwit to outwit.
And he gets Charged Flurry too, though.
Yeah, and he has Outwit to get rid of like Exploit or Psychic Blast to make you deal with that and give him even more chances to heal up. So I did have this dude on a second to last click at one point, but I didn't manage to finish him off before he healed back up to the top. But it was a fun game, a fun team. I really want to try Tabitha again at some point. She was really fun, and the rest of them were okay. Forge was a blast though, and so was Colossus. And I'm definitely going to try Forge. I'm going to try some kind of Forge trick team at some point again too. That is it. I went 2-1, and this wasn't best build or anything, so that doesn't matter. Let's move into spoilers this week. There wasn't a whole lot. We got a couple Yu-Gi-Oh! Or was it just one Yu-Gi-Oh! Was it just the Pegasus?
I think it was just the Pegasus.
This guy's not bad. If you guys want to follow along with this, go to heroclix.com and click on Firewing Pegasus. He is a 120 or 85 point options. For the extra 45 points, you're getting 2 extra clicks of Hypersonic and an extra 1 attack and 1 movement. I think I'd rather play him at 85 because what you really want to use this guy for is his hypersonic and his special attack ability, and he gets both of those at barely, less. I think I like him better at 85. What do you guys think? Just looking at it.
Personally, for why I would use him for the attack power, but I would use him as an 85.1 to trigger that.
He also has flight too, so he could carry some guys in. But the cool thing about him, his special attack power is Burning Tail, and this is kind of similar to the Bat Cycle Smoke Cloud, except not quite as good. Firewing Pegasus, when he moves due to his own action, after actions resolve, it can use Smoke Cloud for free. When it does, it can only place terrains and markers it moved through. So on the Bat Cycle, the one after you move, at least one of them has to be in one you moved. This one, every single marker that you put down has to be where you traveled. And you say, well, that's okay.
But it triggers on any move action.
But yeah, for one, it's for any move action, so not just when he's attacking. Even if he's just carrying your guys up, he can drop the Smoke Cloud. But you got to also take that into account that this is for Yu-Gi-Oh set, and you got to kind of consider him in the only in Yu-Gi-Oh. I think only in Yu-Gi-Oh he's a great piece.
I like him because he's got set 3s all the way down his damage dial for an 85-point piece.
And Hypersonic is going to be hard to come by in Yu-Gi-Oh, and he also gets 4 late dial clicks of poison and some charge too. So I think he's worth it.
Personally, I would run him on a Yu-Gi-Oh team as a carrier that also helps protect him. I would run him with a figure that has stealth for one, and take advantage of the fact that you can carry that figure, drop him behind you, and then cover you all up with stealth. With Smoke Cloud. He's useful for 85 points. For Yu-Gi-Oh! At least.
Yep. Toyman's a cool piece.
I like Toyman.
I like him. I think he's... We'll get to that.
Go ahead, talk about him, Austin.
Okay. So, Toyman is the... I want to say the Caped Crusader kind of figure of this set. He has characters that attach to his base to give him bonuses. He is 81 points as Calculator. He's a super rare. 0 range. He has no combat symbols outside of standard ones. But he has a trait called I Love My Toys. Characters with, and it's a teddy bear icon, are toys. Toyman may begin the game with 1 toy attached to his base at no additional cost. Toyman increases his defense by 1 for each toy attached. He can have up to 2 attached.
He has a 16 defense his entire dial, so if you have 2 toys attached,
that's 18. And then it's Mastermind for 4 clicks, ending with a regen on the last click. He has Prob on his last 2, Outwit on his first 3, Stealth. He's got some low attack values at 9s, but he picks up a special attack power on his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th click called Power Boost. He can use Perplex. He can use it normally, or he can use it as a power action to modify the same combat value except damage on all friendly toys on the map. Which is pretty good. Now, of course, as you've heard the word toy 15 times in all these descriptions, what makes him good is what you can attach to him and effectively play around, which are the various toys that come with him. The first one is the airplane. The airplane is 15 points. It's kind of like the bats are. They're going to come in the packs like the bats did too. It's just 1 click. It has the toy symbol, of course. 6 movement, flight, 9 attack, 15 super senses, tiny symbol, and 4 range double bolt with 2 damage. Its toy ability effectively is mobile toys. When you build your force, Airplane has all keywords possessed by a friendly character named Toyman. Give Airplane a free action to attach it to an adjacent friendly Toyman. When attached, you may give Airplane a move action to detach and move on the map. When on the map, you may give Airplane a move action as a free action if it's within and remains within 3 squares of Toyman. Airplane can't use the carry ability. So as long as it's within 3 squares, it can keep flying around every turn as a free action. So you can use it to block line of fire to Toyman. And it's a tiny, so it's it would make it a, 16 super senses?
Yep. A key thing I want to bring up about these toys compared to the flock of bats, and something that I hope that they are errata on the bats, is the I guess, for lack of a better word, trait that the toys symbol gives you, is when you build your force that the toys get all the keywords that are possessed by Toyman. So that lets you play a theme team as long as the rest of your team has the same keywords as Toyman.
The airplanes also have a trait called Buzzing Blitzkrieg. When they're attached to Toyman, opposing characters targeting him with an attack decrease the attack value by 1 for each airplane. And then they have a special attack power called Mounted Machine Gun. They can use Energy Explosion. When they're within 3 squares of a friendly character named Toyman, they get +1 attack. When the airplane's KO'd, roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, give all friendly characters named Toyman an action token. So, and that's the same on all the toys. All the toys, if they die, you have to roll a d6, and if on a 1 to 2, Toyman takes an action token. They also spoiled a few other toys.
Teddy bears.
Teddy bears and race cars. Oh, and the Symbol Monkey.
God, the Symbol Monkey.
The teddy bears are kind of cool. Basically, they have the same toy ability where they get free move actions as long as they remain within 3. But when they're attached to Toyman's base, the damage dealt to Toyman's reduced by 1. So you can have up to 2, so you can kind of give him Invul's whole dial. +1 defense for each one attached, of course. They themselves are 5 movement, 9 attack, 16 defense, all naked except for the special attack ability, and shape change on defense with tiny symbol. Their attack ability is hidden explosives. Give them a move action, and after actions resolve, if they're adjacent to an opposing character, they can use Pulse Wave as a free action with a range value of 6, and after actions resolve, Teddy Bear's KO'd. They only have 1 damage, so no matter what, you might as well hit as many characters as you can with it. Of course, they have the whole when they die, they have a chance to put an action token on Toyman thing too. We also have
Symbol banging monkey.
yes,
The monkey.
the monkey's scary. Typical Toyman thing. His trait is he can use super senses. Toyman can use super senses when Symbol Monkey's attached, but only succeeds on a 6. Add 1 to your result for each Symbol banging monkey. So effectively, he can use it on a 5 to 6 if he has 1 attached, because he gets +1 to his roll. If he has 2 attached, he gets it on a 4, 5, 6, which is really good. They themselves have a 16 defend, 4, 9, 16, 1 for movement, attack, defense, damage, and tiny symbol. They have a special attack ability. If they end a movement action adjacent to an opposing character, they can use Quake as a free action. When Symbol banging monkey's KO'd, of course, you roll a d6. They only have a 4 movement though. So, I mean, they get a free movement as long as they end within 3 of Toyman, and then they can move 4 on their own to get a free Quake.
I just like how flavorful this is because it symbolizes them being out and banging symbols.
Symbolizes.
And the super senses, yeah, dude. Super senses, lets them know they're coming. So
Yeah, they're really
if you're
cool.
complaining why Toyman has super senses, that's...
And then the last one's the race car, which personally, this one's probably my favorite. Typical Toyman ability for toys. Their trait is they double as roller skates. They can use Toyman can ignore characters on movement when race car is attached and modifies the speed value +1 for each race car. They themselves are a 7 movement, 10 attack, 16 defense with energy shield, 2 damage, tiny symbol, no range, but they have a special movement ability called This Thing Is Fast. Race car can use the move and attack ability. If race car is within 3 squares of a character named Toyman, it can use hypersonic speed instead. When race car is KO'd, roll a d6. On a result of 1 or 2, give all friendly characters named Toyman an action token. So, as long as they start within 3, they can use hypersonic for 7 squares out to hit for 2 of the 10 attack, which is pretty good for 22 points. I mean, I don't know if they're the ones I would play them separate instead of having them attached to him. Like, some of these toys are better attached, some of them are better off.
Yeah.
I think Symbol Banging Monkey might be one of the better attached ones because a Super Senses on a 4 through 6 is amazing.
Well, it would just depend on how many he has attached.
Oh yeah, I would start 2 attached.
He
to him,
only succeeds on a 6,
but he gets +1 for
but
each
he
one
gets
attached.
+1 for each one attached.
So a 4, 5, 6 would be an instant.
If you had 2 of them.
If you had 2 of them attached,
Yeah.
yeah. So I would like attach 2 to him, run a bunch of race cars and airplanes off because they can do the free movements around in position, and then they actually have decent attack abilities and damage output. He's a really flavorful piece. Like, this is really cool. I don't know how I feel about like them being like the bats, because the bats were pretty, I don't want to say rare, but
They were kind of hard to get to
Yeah.
find. Yeah. I mean, and even to this day, their price,
they're still really valuable.
Yeah, their price still kind of holds up. So
I mean, I guess we'll see. They're cool though. I really like it. I was kind of hoping When they first said that the toys were going to be like bats, I was really afraid like they wouldn't be a cool mechanic and they'd be kind of like junk to pull in the packs.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of things that I feel like someone one of these days, like, this is something I see Scott playing eventually, is Toy Man with a full army and all this stuff. Like, it's just a cool setup.
I'd play Toy Man.
He looks fun. I'll definitely try him at least a couple times.
Yeah.
Drewster, you want to talk about is this our first full dial spoiler for Days of Future Past?
Yes. Well, the Sentinels, do they count?
Yeah,
the
that-
001
that-
Sentinel. the
That
full
kind of
Sentinels.
counts, yeah.
Yeah.
But the first from the CTD set, what they spoiled was Angel. And,
Angel.
it's not a bad piece.
It is not a bad piece. He's got a trait, which is a pretty good trait. Adjacent friendly characters with the Defenders or X-Men team ability can use both the Defenders and the X-Men team abilities.
I love figures like that.
That's insane, actually.
Because those
I
are
mean,
both really good team abilities.
They definitely are. He's got his top click. He's got let's go over the base stuff. He's kind of a melee piece. He's got no range, no indom. He's got the flight ability, though, of course. I mean, come on. He's got sidestep, super senses, and a special attack ability. He can use charge. When he does, he can use improved movement, ignores characters, and modifies his speed value by +2. So that's 7 charge, which is
Really nice.
pretty good.
And ignoring characters for us.
He's got a 3 damage. Lower dial, he gets some perplex. He gets he rolls on the leap. There's that. No, that's Earthbound. Yeah,
Earthbound and combat reflexes.
Earthbound and combat reflexes. So he's a good piece. Only 74 points. So I mean,
For
He-
74, though, what I really like is...
he's got great key. He's got X Factor.
Oh, he does have X Factor.
Sweet.
Yep.
I mean, I really like him for 74 because he's, of course, like, usually with Angel and X-Men teams, he's a good carry for X-Men teams.
Yeah.
But he's really good on Defenders teams, because Defenders, outside of really, I want to say Silver Surfer, and sometimes, like, 1 or 2 other pieces, they don't really get a ton of good carry pieces that are cheap.
Secret Invasion
Silver Surfer's
Strange.
always-
Oh, sorry, Secret Invasion.
Is Secret Invasion Strange a flyer?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a flyer. Since he's sitting in the
I
salt.
kind of like him.
He's hovering.
I still think the GSX Angel is better if you want to compare the two
Yeah, he's
for his points, but this guy's not bad, and he'll be a decent sealed piece to throw on if you're playing sealed with
definitely.
these packs.
He's got good keywords.
He's got the
and-
ability to carry your dudes around, plus he has sidestep when he does so. And then he has the kind of reminiscent of the old GSX Angel where he can charge and get the bonus speed.
I just really like his trait. Like, that's what really makes me love him, because not only does he carry somebody, then he can use their he can use defenders to take
Yeah.
whatever defense they have.
And when he gets down on those reflexes, it's going to be nice to be able to defend off of like an 18,
Oh, yeah.
some other, or like Beast or somebody else. Colossus.
That beast is so good.
Colossus with the 18, Invincible, and stuff like that, because he also has defenders as well. So, pretty cool spoiler. That's going to be the main dial spoilers they gave us this week. We got some news about the War of the Light, most of which we already knew, and we talked about last week, how they are splitting the kits up into 10-person kits. They're splitting the boosters up into 2 waves, and really the only...
There were a bunch of sculpt spoilers for it, though.
Yeah, but really the only... the only pertinent stuff was that they specified what the relics were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Which is a Green Lantern and a barrier and a
construct.
Yeah, barrier construct.
That's it. That's it. Other than that, we already knew. We already knew Hal Jordan and Sinestro were the figures in the set. They still haven't given us details on the actual resource and exactly how it's going to work. So we're really just crossing our fingers and hope we get that soon, because we're all kind of
Ready for it.
I'm almost dreading it.
The thing that makes me feel bad about it is the way they worded how we're going to be ordering product.
But yeah, because we're supposed to get 10 resources per kit, and there's 8 Lantern cores, or we're supposed to get 11. 1 for the Judge. There's 8 Lantern cores. So what are the last 2? Another green and a yellow because they're the most common, or?
I don't know. I mean, there's really, like I said last week, there's really no point in speculating, because
We don't know.
we don't have a damn clue.
And they haven't even given us any hints towards it.
But yeah, they just...
As soon as we get info, we will share it. But as of now, we're kind of left in the dark, like you guys. But at least we know exactly what the objects will be in the first Blitzkrieg pack for better word of, or for lack of a better term.
The Blitzkrieg pack.
Yeah, the cash in pack.
The $40.
The one that includes something that attaches to the resource, so you have to buy.
And I'm sure that whatever it is will be the best one out of all of them.
Yeah.
Just like the Scotty. Not
really Scotty's
It's
anymore.
definitely considered one. I mean, it's still an exploit.
It's stupid, but
For the first 5 months, it was the best.
It still is up there.
yeah, it's God, Angry's hammer and Knowles.
Hopefully we get more info on that soon. Really soon. That's it for news. Main topic is our awards. Our first annual Dial H For Heroclix Awards in the for excellence in the categories of
Sadly, the Dial H Orchestra could not join
Clix
us
and
tonight.
comics. I couldn't afford them for the whole night. I mean, they were going to have to sit around for the entire award
You guys got to
ceremony.
understand something. We got to fly. They're straight out of Australia. We got to bring them in. They got to practice. They've been here. Last time we had them, they were here 2 weeks.
And it's also really expensive for Hunter to be making all these gold trophy clicks to give to these HeroClix figures.
They ate all my food last time they were here.
We went to Denny's and they ordered the most expensive shit. I
They
mean,
could have
it's
just ordered unlimited pancakes. They ordered like 12 stacks of normal pancakes just to stick it to Hunter.
Anyways. And they didn't have any money because all they had was Australian currency, which I think is
Isn't
bottle
even
caps.
real money.
I think it's bottle caps or something. I don't know. Sorry, Australian listeners.
So the way we're going to do these is we'll do it kind of like an award show where I will bring up the category and we will mention the what's the word I'm thinking of?
Nominees.
The nominees. I'll read through each nominee without going into detail about it.
You're telepathic now.
And then we'll all three go through and mention one of the nominees, why we voted for it, and then I will announce the winners. I'll open the envelope and announce who got first out of that category.
We
Does that
got a
sound good?
lot of envelopes here.
We're gonna do comics first.
Okay, comics.
Now, comics.
Suck. Oh, no.
This
Sorry.
was a ridiculous. I kind of realized it during the year how awesome for a year for comics it was, but then when I was making these lists of these nominees, I was like, Jesus, this was an amazing year.
It's really good.
So much good stuff went down.
And there was still stuff that I was looking at the list. I was like, man, there's stuff that's not even on this list. I wish was on the nominees.
Yeah,
And
I had to cut off a whole lot of stuff whenever I was kind of narrowing these things down because I could just list stuff for days. But I really tried to get the cream of the crop in each category, and then I went through and found some other comic sites that had done similar awards, and these matched up the best with what everybody was saying. So the nominees in the area of best series for 2013. The nominees are Wonder Woman, Batman, and Swamp Thing from DC New 52. Those are all three DC. Then we have two Marvel books made the cut, New Avengers and Thor God of Thunder. And then one independent book is Saga. And that, who does Saga? Is it Vertigo? No, it's not Vertigo.
It's
Image. Image does Saga.
The Image does so much good stuff.
So does Vertigo. And really, the more I've been reading comics, I feel like every year I read comics, the less Marvel DC I read, and the more independent stuff I read. Like, honestly,
Are you becoming a comic hipster on us, Hunter?
they make the best
I know.
books. I mean, they honestly do. But anyways,
They let their writers run with it.
yeah. But so Drew, pick one of those nominees that you voted for, and tell me why you think it deserves to be the best series of 2013.
I picked Thor God of Thunder. Never have I read a comic in which I have been so intensely interested, and that I had to stop and go to work, and I was like, man, I just want to read more Thor God of Thunder. So, like, I was, like, honestly considering taking a personal day to go home and read Thor God of Thunder.
That's pretty impressive.
That's a pretty damn good sign of a good
It's such an insanely good book. You should. I'm not even, like, a huge Marvel fan. Go read Thor God of Thunder.
I'm not a Thor fan, and I love Thor God of Thunder.
We have sung its praises several times.
To the high heavens.
What do you think are kind of the thing? Why is it such a good book? What's so great about it?
The writing, it's top notch. It's like you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know who Gore is. I mean, Gore's not a big. They made him up for this. He's no one knew who he was, but he turned out to. You felt so bad for Gore. You felt
they do kind of do a great job of making you feel bad for him, even though
even in the end when
or at least letting you see kind of why he would be the.
I mean, you're like, who's this dick killing all the gods at the beginning of the book, and then you're like, oh, that's why.
It's the thing about Gore is like, you're like, man, this could have happened to anyone in the universe. Like, all it took was someone going through the hardships Gore and his family went through, and it could have been any alien, it could have been a human, it could have been something who just all of a sudden decides they've had enough with this and snap. And I think that's what makes Gore so believable to a point. I mean, outside of the fantastical power and all that stuff he has, he's just and he grows as a character too. You see him slip farther and farther into madness as it goes on. And they just wrote him so well.
Austin.
Saga.
Alright, well that goes without saying. Another book we've sang the praises of all year.
I know, right? That was the book that, like, you told me about it and you kind of gave me the premise. I was like, that sounds absolutely absurd. I really don't know why this could be the best book
ever. I told you before, I said this is going to sound nuts. But it's Brian K. Vaughan. He writes crazy. I mean, Why the Last Man was nuts when he first started.
I start the first issue and I'm like, why is there dude with a TV for the plowing some bitch?
But I'm telling you, it's an amazing book.
It really, and that's the thing is, like, it's so weird. Like, I mean, like, I don't care how much of a Saga fan you are. There is no way you can deny how stupidly weird it is. But it's so good. The characters are lovable. And the weirdness is part of what really makes it what it is. Like, it's all these alien environments. They give new meaning to alien environments and new meaning to aliens. Like, these are crazy creatures. These are, like, nightmarish horrors a lot of times that are just so well done. They are too.
For mine, I liked Thor and Saga, both quite a bit. And in each of these categories, we got to pick two. I did pick Saga. For my second one, though, I didn't go with Thor: God of Thunder. I almost went with Batman, but the thing is, when you think about Batman, over the last 2 years, it's probably the best book. Probably. But this year, not as many. A lot of the good stuff. Court of Owls was last year.
Yeah.
And the other really good arc that came right after Court of Owls was last year. This year, there was Death of the Family, which was a great arc, and we'll get into that later in the awards show. But I went with Wonder Woman, and I know not all of you guys loved this book as much as I did, but it's up there with Saga for me, and it's very similar to Saga. It creates. This isn't your grandpa's Wonder Woman book. This is
she's in Stars and Spangles underwear to her belly button.
This is modern day, but bizarre circumstances Wonder Woman, where the characters, the gods are not your typical sit on my throne in Olympus gods. Like, they have personality, and they have extremely diverse and well developed throughout the course of the book, personalities. And characters that you grow to love. I mean, War, who you should hate, becomes one of your favorite people in the comics.
He's drunk half the time, making everybody fight, and it's so funny.
Brian Azzarello does an amazing job of developing the characters. The art is top notch too. I think I voted for it in our art section too, and it's kind of widely appreciated. And actually, I was surprised I wasn't surprised to see it nominated, but I was surprised to see that it won most of the websites I was going to's best series for this year over Saga, which is really crazy because Saga is amazing. Good. So I know I'm not the only one who really, really loves Wonder Woman. And if you guys, even if you've never read a Wonder Woman book, I never followed her as closely as I have now. I mean, I've read her stuff and seen her in Justice League, for years, but this is different, and you can come into it. I feel like you could come into it not knowing anything about Wonder Woman and really enjoy it. So I highly recommend it to everyone. So those are our nominees, and I'm just going to go top three on our voting. It was Austin, Drew, and I, as well as Ricky, who's a guest on the podcast quite a bit, and Phil Young, who's a guest and a contributor and helps us out with a lot of stuff on the podcast as well. Third place was Swamp Thing.
Which is an amazing book.
which is absolutely amazing. Second place was Saga, and actually Thor God of Thunder got one more vote than Saga when it was all said and done.
Thor God of Thunder, everybody.
Well, congratulations. So Thor God of Thunder, best series of 2013 by Dial H For Heroclix. Best writer, I have 3, 4, 6 nominees in this section as well. Charles Soule kind of snuck up on people. He wrote Swamp Thing, Red Lanterns, which is a really fun book.
He's been getting better and better too as it's gone on.
He took Thunderbolts from its downward spiral into god awfulness and is helping pull it up from the ashes, because the last few issues, me and Harry were talking about, the last few issues of Thunderbolts have been amazing. I think I'd even warrant to say amazing. The issue where Leader is kind of fantasizing playing things. Have you guys read?
I haven't got that caught up yet.
Oh my gosh! The last 3 since this guy took over of Thunderbolts have been awesome, and you guys should really check it out, because you have this.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts was awful. I mean, there's no getting around it. Thunderbolts was awful before this guy took over, and he's really changed things. He also wrote Superman Wonder Woman, which is a short series that I thought would be crappy and wouldn't last long, and it's actually really good. I don't know if you guys have been reading that.
No, I expected it to be a cash-in. So
I know, and I picked it up. The art's really good in that book, too. And it takes place in New 52, but it's kind of slightly outside of the main storyline. So, like, they cover stuff in some enemies that you don't get to see in a lot of the current New 52. So, and he also has a new book called Letter 44, which I actually haven't gotten to read, but I've heard nothing but good things about. So it's been a good year for this guy. He kind of snuck his way into this section. Jeff Johns, name we all know and love. Aquaman, Green Lantern. This was his departure from Green Lantern for the first time in a decade. He's been killing it on Green Lantern for 10 years now. And sad to see him go, but man, was his go away just amazing. Justice League and Forever Evil, for the most part, has all been him as well. So Jeff Johns definitely deserves to be on this list. Jonathan Hickman.
Praise be to Hickman.
Brought us Infinity, Avengers, New Avengers, East of West, and Manhattan Projects this year. All top-notch books. Even Manhattan Projects, even though it's not my cup of tea, I really appreciated that book. And we've all been talking about East of West a lot lately, and we really enjoy that too. Scott Snyder, again, Batman. Wrote a lot on Swamp Thing this year. American Vampire, which is a book I actually haven't given a chance yet, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about that book as well. Superman Unchained I do really like. I don't know if you guys have read that. It's kind of a separate little thing where I can't think of the other character's name, but anyways, it deals with General Lane and it's its own separate storyline, but it's a very well written book. It's definitely the best Superman book right now. And Talon, which I don't really like. Have you guys read Talon?
I haven't. It's on my list to read because I love the Court of Owls and the Talon, so I want to know more.
I personally don't like it. I love the Talons, but I don't like that book. It's too wordy. But I would be interested to get a second opinion on it from somebody.
Okay.
Brian K. Vaughan, all he wrote was Saga, but Saga's that damn good that he made his way onto this list and got some votes too. Matt Fraction, it's been a good year for him. Hawkeye is a really good book. Came pretty close to making it on our list for best series. And Sex Criminals is a book that I've been talking about recently that I started reading and I absolutely loved. It's amazing so far. It's only 3 or 4 issues in, but it's amazing. Fantastic Four, the main series, has been pretty good and pretty well written. And he also wrote FF, which I haven't been enjoying really, but I'm not going to hold against him.
Because Hawkeye's so good.
So, Drew, who did you vote for?
I voted for our Lord and Savior, Jeff Johns.
Good choice.
Jeff Johns has written so many good books. Like, he's had such a profound impact on my comic reading history. I could
here to save your life.
Kinda. He's amazing. Like, Aquaman, like, I used to be like, man, people were like, Aquaman's so lame. Read this comic. Tell me Aquaman's lame.
I can see Drew going door to door.
Not only that, try to tell me with a straight face Aquaman's not a mega badass after reading this comic. You know what I mean? Like,
I made Aquaman jokes, but after that book, I couldn't.
I threatened Austin's life multiple times, and he finally read Aquaman, and he's joined the good side.
Me and Drew are going to start going door to door with copies of Aquaman and be like, have you heard
about
our
spread
Lord
the
and
word
Savior
of Aquaman?
Drew or Austin?
I went with our second Lord and Savior, Hickman. I think Hickman's been killing it this year. The man's been bitten by a radioactive spider because he knows how to spin webs. Like, these stories are like layers within layers within layers.
I don't know if that was good or awful. I haven't.
It was both at the same time.
That's what makes it even better. I mean, like, he killed it with... I don't want to say he killed it with Infinity. Infinity was good. I really liked it.
He did kill it with them.
He killed it.
Avengers and New Avengers have both been great. East of West has been amazing. I cannot get enough of it. And the thing is, Hickman has that style where, like, you could read a book and you just get that inkling in the back of your head without knowing who the writer is. You're like, I know this is Hickman.
Yeah.
Because stuff is building, and it's like a pressure cooker. Like, everything's just building and building and building. You're like, come on, man, give me some answers to these damn questions.
It's like he's been writing for like 10 years, and
it's like a movie where all the stuff is kind of hidden in the beginning, and you don't realize it until it's almost over, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Then you read back through it, or you watch back through it, you catch everything, and you're like, I hate my life now.
I also voted for both of those, but and you know why? Is you look at some of these other guys and you look at the books that they wrote, like, for example, Brian K. Vaughan with Saga, and you're like, yeah, Saga's a great book, but when you look at their body of work this year...
Yeah, that's where
Jeff Johns, the fact that he wrote Aquaman, which is amazing, Green Lantern, which is amazing, Justice League, which is amazing, Forever Evil, the fact that those four books are literally in our top 10 this year, that really speaks volumes. The same with Jonathan Hickman, the fact that almost all of his books would be in our top 10 if we chose our top 10. That's what is more impressive to me than just Brian K. Vaughan writing Saga. You know what I mean? Like, and that weighs more in my mind.
He does a lot more work, and he gets it all right.
The only other one, I liked Matt Fraction.
I was going to say Matt Fraction.
So, a third place actually did go to Matt Fraction.
I was going to say the thing about Hickman was when I voted for him and I chose him for this one, I was excluding Fantastic Four and FF, the original runs, because they weren't from this year. Like, this is just this year he's had this kind of impact.
Yep.
And then John's...
You take the last 2 years... Oh, don't get me started on... I've already been started on this podcast about Hickman's Fantastic Four and FF.
You got a poster of him on your wall in your room. I know, just...
Yeah, so third place did go to Matt Fraction for Hawkeye, Sex Criminals, Fantastic Four, and FF. Second place went to Jeff... actually... Hickman and Johns were pretty much tied. We each got to vote for 2 people.
We like all of them.
And I think Hickman got one more vote. I think somebody voted for Hickman and Fraction. So
I voted for...
Johns got second place, and our award for Best Writer of 2013 goes to Jonathan Hickman.
So congratulations.
I look forward to what he's doing in 2014. If Marvel keeps giving him power to write stuff, I will keep reading it.
If you're listening, Hickman, your award is in the mail. It's a signed photo from me.
Nude or not, it's up to you to find out.
Yep.
Best art.
Schrodinger's nude photo.
Best art is a category that relates pretty directly to best series. If you kind of notice, Fiona Staples on Saga, David Aja on Hawkeye, Cliff Chiang on Wonder Woman, Nick Dragata on East of West, Francis Manipool, man, dude always kills it, on Flash. Flash is a book that the story, it's written and drawn by Manipool. The writing's okay, but the art is, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And Manipool does not cover, but the best opening pages of a book that's ever existed.
Like
his intros into showing the words.
Whenever Flash is, fighting Captain Cold, and he's just got these awesome pictures of the snow, and it's great.
Chris Samney for Daredevil, and that's one that I actually didn't think about. I do really love Daredevil, especially this year, but when I was making my list, I didn't include it, but then when I go to all the other awards to get some ideas and see what everybody else is thinking, I was like, Daredevil, it was really well drawn. It's sneakily well drawn. I mean, it's not something so bold like East of West where it really captures your attention, but it is really well done.
Sometimes the best art is the subtlest, that just fits and flows with everything.
Thor God of Thunder definitely deserves to be on here as well.
Yes.
Artist is Esad Ribic. And Drew, who did you vote for best artist for 2013?
I voted for Esad Ribic, and the person I wanted wasn't on here. But
who's that?
The guy who did the art for Animal Man.
Oh, that was one I considered. But I didn't think it was quite on level as these other ones, but that's good mention. Honorable mention. That's a good honorable mention.
Whatever. But yeah, I voted for Eastside. He did really good work on that book. It's amazing looking.
Understatement.
Austin, who did you vote?
I voted for Manipool, actually. Honestly, Manipool's artwork is the reason I started reading Flash. I don't want to say it's the reason I stuck with it, because I did enjoy Flash. But the artwork is really great. I love his takes on characters. Like, there's some slight costume alterations on some classic Flash characters. But I really like his action scenes and his, as you said, the openings. They're almost movie-esque, where like you get like a page of dialogue and then, boom, it's Flash running across the middle with the title of the issue in the middle. And it's just the way he sets it all up is really great. I love Mirror Master. He draws really well.
Yes, he does.
Where like there's a few issues earlier on where like Mirror Master and the Rogues are like working together and they're like nearby or something, and you like see them in a reflection in the corner on a mirror somewhere or something. It's the little, he really nails the little details. When they're in the what's the area called? It's Hyper Time, isn't it? When they're in or the Speed Force.
Speed Force.
When they're in the Speed Force, all the little details in the background and stuff floating on rocks, like a World War II tank and some soldiers.
Yep.
Just little crap. He really pays attention to the detail. Love his work. And, of course, I had to go with Drew, Thor, God of Thunder.
I really couldn't make up my mind on this.
It was a hard one.
I ended up actually going with Fiona Staples and Cliff Chang on Wonder Woman. Both, Saga's probably my favorite art in a long time. And it has this strange watercolor look to it, but it just works so damn perfectly. It's amazing. And Cliff Chang, I already talked about Wonder Woman, and it's great art. And it also is kind of a I don't want to say bizarre. No, it's not. It looks almost drawn. I don't know how to describe it. It kind of has this feel, almost like a kid would draw it. Like the line, there's not much shading. It's pretty much. It looks really, shaded. Yeah, it looks really flat, but it somehow works really, really well. This was probably the most contested category we actually had as far as it came for tallying up the votes. We had a 3-way tie for third. First of all, Cliff Chang, as I said, from Wonder Woman was one part. Manipool and Aja from Hawkeye, which is another incredibly drawn book this year, and really has its
own style.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so hyper stylized.
Like, I think that Hawkeye probably has
really
the best art.
Really contested category. Those three tied for third. Fiona Staples from Saga got second, and Esad Ribic from Thor God of Thunder got first. So congratulations.
I would just like to interrupt the podcast and say Ricky says hi, everybody.
Anyway.
Moving on to the category. In the category of Best Comic Book Arc.
Ooh, this one was rough.
This one was rough.
2013. We have 5 nominees this year. We have The God Butcher from Thor God of Thunder. Ragnarok Rao from Uncanny...
Ragnarok Rao.
Ragnarok Rao from Uncanny Avenger. This category, this is what currently just wrapped up, which set up the kind of big event that's going down if you guys read that book. Death of the Family, which happened early in the year, but my God, was it amazing.
I really love that.
And from Batman. War from Wonder Woman, which just wrapped up recently and Austin really needs to read. And Rot World, which is an event which is an arc that took place in both Animal Man and Swamp Thing and was extremely well done. Probably the best, if I think about an arc that took place over two separate books, kind of like Blackest Night did back when it first came out. Like, this is the best that any arc has ever done when it goes across multiple books. Mm-hmm. Like, it is seamless.
It is ridiculously good.
And it tells two sides of the same story.
And it's really insanely sad.
And really, it honestly took place a lot in Justice League Dark, too.
Yeah.
And those issues were, again, just another awesome look at the other side of a cool event. So, this was a pretty tough category to vote for. Austin, we'll start with you. What was your favorite arc?
If I had to go my absolute favorite, even though it was picked 2, God Butcher, Thor, God of Thunder. I don't even want to like go over this again. Like we've been over it so many times.
Technically, it's like 2 arcs, but it's all the same arc.
It was in what 8-issue arc, I think.
Yeah, it was a long arc.
It was really long.
It was God Bomb, and it was
honestly though, I kind of liked it like that. Like I feel like part of my issue with a lot of arcs is they're too short.
It didn't feel like it dragged on, even though it was that long. It didn't feel like it was taking too long.
I've had big issues a lot of times with arcs where I feel like the writer had better ideas, but they feel like they run out of time, so they just rush it at the end. So a lot of arcs like start out great and then they just drop off. You guys what?
Jesus H. Christ in heaven.
Paul George, what the fuck?
I think I just came. Paul George just made the most amazing dunk I've seen outside of a dunk contest in my life. It was like a 360. It's like an inverse 360 with one freaking hand. Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Anyway. I have issues with a lot of arcs like that because they start out really strong, they start out really interesting, and the artist, or not the artist, but the writers just like, they run out of time for issues and they just cut it, like they just wrap it all up real quick.
Yep.
And you feel kind of cheated. You feel like you kind of got like half of what you bargained for. And God Butcher definitely, like at 8 issues, it was perfect length. I was just like, it peaked at that point and it ended at that point.
It had a real murder mystery feel. Like you were like, I wonder who's killing all the gods.
And then it turns into, and they reveal him, and you're like, why is he killing all the gods?
And then you realize...
And then you learn it, and you're like, how do we stop him from killing all the gods?
Sadistic son of a bitch. Drew, what was your favorite arc this year?
Rot World. I mean, Animal Man and Swamp Thing were probably 2 of my favorite books.
They're just running this.
They were 2 of the best books. I mean,
it's just so
Animal
sick.
Man didn't make the cut, but it definitely was very close to making the cut.
Animal Man revived a character that did not get a lot of love and is always it's always been it's just go read Rot World. I'm not going to spoil it.
You need to read Animal Man and Swamp Thing together though, and just kind of alternate 1-1. Jesus, that dunk was ridiculous. It was that was like every dunk put together, coast to coast, and tomahawk 360 inverse with one hand. That was ridiculous.
And then everyone on the
everybody go to YouTube and look up Paul George's dunk against the Clippers this past week. And
if he hit that, I was just gonna.
Anyway, sorry for the interruption.
We have an award show. This is very unprofessional.
My favorite arc, I voted for Rot World, and then I voted for Death of the Family from Batman.
Death in the Family was my other vote.
Death of the Family is an event that happens where the Joker comes back after a very long hiatus in DC Comics.
Very long. And
not only does he come back, Scott Snyder actually like makes important things go down with him too. The Joker is basically torturing the entire Batman family, finds out all their identities. I don't want to spoil the kind of ending, but there's a big revelations that come with the whole identity thing. And not only does he find out who they are, he successfully captures all of them. And there's a very cool couple issues of him torturing them and like real personal, awesome, moments that go down that just make that an extremely well done, course of events. Highly, highly recommended arc.
There's these parts of it that are honestly, you feel kind of sad.
Yeah,
for the Joker.
Well, and you feel sad for the family too because it's just beyond crazy what's going down.
The thing is, like, there's a lot of back and forth between Batman and Joker where, like, you hear like the kind of pitiful side of Joker, where like. There's parts where Batman kind of says, like, I'm going to reveal myself to you. The Joker's like, no, don't. And he's, like, really depressed about this fact because to the Joker, his entire life is Batman versus the Joker. And if Batman ever wasn't Batman, it would destroy him. And, like, it's so weird how it all is and how it all goes back and forth. But it's best written Joker I think I've ever read out of all the Batman comics I've read. I really liked it. I would recommend it in a heartbeat to anybody.
So the third place for best comic arc went to Rot World. Second place was God Butcher. Aww. And first place was Death of the Family.
Woo!
Every single one of us voted for Death of the Family out of the 5 of us. So amazing, amazing arc. Category of best miniseries, and when I say miniseries, I don't mean an event book does not count. So like Infinity, that's not. That's not part of it. It's books that are specifically created to only run a certain set of months that are basically non-event books. The nominees were, and this one was probably the hardest one for me to vote because all of these are ridiculously amazing books. However, I have not had time to finish Wake yet, but it is, really good. Daredevil End of Days. Jesus. This was the best Daredevil book I have read since Bendis Daredevil over 10 years ago. And if you guys haven't read this yet, I have the hardcover. If you be careful with the son of a gun, you can borrow it because, Jesus, this is not only well written, it's well drawn, and it takes place in its own kind of world, in a separate kind of set of events. Stuff goes down, heavily involving Bullseye. I can't recommend this book more. In fact, if this was a main series, it would be in my running with Saga for best book of the year. Trillium, which is it's written by Jeff Lemire, feels a lot like Sweet Tooth, which we talked about a lot. It's off to a great start. It's very interesting, and it has kind of its own cool art style. Forever Evil is actually in this category because it's has its own short kind of miniseries that's going down right now. Secret History of the Foot Clan is a Ninja Turtles book, and it is extremely well done. As is the full Ninja Turtles series this year, and it almost made the cut for best series, and honestly probably should have. And The Wake, which is an indie series that I just started that is pretty interesting so far. Drew, who did you vote for best miniseries this year?
Forever Evil. Mainly because this is the only one I read, but because it was such a good ride and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
It is, and it continues to be a good ride as it goes on. And this last issue was very intriguing. Very, very intriguing. And from the spoilers I've seen for the one coming up, some big stuff goes down with Lex. So, Austin, did you also vote for Forever?
I also voted for Forever Evil. I just like how it's kind of the New 52 introduction to a lot of villains that really they haven't really recognized yet as being part of the universe since New 52 started. But I'm liking the mini series because it kind of gives you that it's the alternate universe kind of feel where you have the crime syndicate. It kind of gives you a little bit of back on some of them. It's just really good. It's well written. The art's great.
Characters are cool. The crime syndicate's very cool.
Powerade.
And it's just an interesting idea. I will say, I already talked about End of Days and how amazing it is. That was what I voted for. Forever Evil, I am very much enjoying. Secret History of Foot Clan was awesome as well. Trillium, I am enjoying so far, but I think Trillium's not quite as good as Foot Clan, but it's also not quite as good as End of Days. But I cannot recommend End of Days enough to you guys, and I really hope you guys take some time to read.
I'll definitely check it out.
It's 8 issues long. It's very good. Daredevil's End of Days got second. As I said, I was the only one who voted for it, so it got second, and everyone else voted for Forever Evil. So Forever Evil, best miniseries of 2014 or 2013. I'm sorry. In the category of best new series, this is a
pick two.
This is a series that is a main series, but just started in the year of 2013. Like its first issue started in the year of 2013. Nominees are Lazarus, which is a cool new book, and it involves. It almost had. I just started it, so I can't comment on too much, but it has kind of a feel like what was that movie that turned out kind of bad? With the girl, it kind of looked like 300 stylized, but it was with the girls that were like little assassin. I'll think of the name of it in a second. Sex Criminals, which I've talked about on the show before, I really enjoy. New Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which is a book we've talked about quite a bit here on the podcast, and everybody that we talk to seems to really be enjoying it.
I don't think anyone likes it.
I don't know how you could read it and not really enjoy it. And Rat Queens, which is a book that I also just started. I'm on like issue 3 or 4. It is kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's a group of young girls who live in poverty, and right now it's kind of setting up their personalities. But I gotta say, the character development, even though it's not very far in, has been excellent so far, and I'm pretty intrigued to see what happens with this book.
I was-
It could turn out to be one of the better books.
I was hoping it was a biopic on Splinter's daughters, but that's just me.
This was another that we got to pick 2 on this category. This was another pretty much flat out win. Drew, who did you vote for?
Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
I don't blame you, man. It's a great.
It's so amazing. It's a brilliant idea for a book, and I'm surprised that they even managed to get Marvel to do it. Like, okay, so we're gonna get a terrible Sinister Six together, and they're gonna. But there's Sinister Five. There's gonna be this lawyer, and he's gonna be the best character.
God, I forgot about the lawyer until you said that, Drew.
Boomerang's lawyer.
Boomerang's lawyer wins best character of 2013.
Oh my god!
It's that kind of book where the villains are so freaking pitiful. You're like, can you guys just win for once and stop being such worthless sacks of crap? It's just, you feel so sorry for them, and you want to just smack them all around because they're all idiots. But it's just so funny, and they write it so well. And, oh my gosh, I love it.
It's great.
And it's characters you don't see a lot of either, which is what's great.
Boomerang is my favorite character.
I like his parole officer too.
I can't
Freaking
believe
firepower.
Austin, what did you? Who did you
I voted for New Avengers. I'm a hardcore Illuminati fan. New Avengers has been great. I've liked the. I'm not going to say I liked it because it's a Illuminati book. I like it because of the individual writing and how you get little mini spotlights of each character. There's moments with Beast where Beast is talking to the lady that they've captured from the alternate dimension or whatever. And you kind of see an insight into how Beast is thinking about it. And then you get moments with Reed and you get insights into him. And you get moments with Stark. And it's just, it goes through each character really well. And you kind of see the inner workings of how they're pitched against each other and all this stuff like that. It's just done really well. Once again, it's Hickman, so it's plot lines within plot lines within plot lines. It can get really confusing at times if you can't keep up well, but it's definitely probably my favorite new series this year. It's one that I pull, I make sure I get every single week, and I make sure I keep up to date with. I love it.
This was another category where everyone voted for the same 2, and I voted for one that didn't fit. I did vote for Superior Foes, but I also voted for Sex Criminals because even though it's only 3 issues in, it's been an amazing 3 issues, and I can't recommend that book. I guess I shouldn't recommend it too heavily yet until we make sure it keeps up the same pace. But if you, I don't even know how to describe what it's like. I'll just take my word for it that it's well worth reading if you guys are interested in checking it out.
Amazon constantly suggests it to me.
That's probably because you Google sex all the time. in criminals. Third place was Sex Criminals because it was the only one that got any other votes. Second place, New Avengers, and the award winner for best new series was Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
So damn funny.
It's hilarious. It's well drawn. It's well written. The characters are characters that you wouldn't have given 2 shits about before this book started, and now you
kind of
love
cheer
them.
for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's
brilliant.
amazing.
You just want them to win for once.
And if you would have told me when they announced Superior Foes of Spider-Man that we would consider it our best new series
Versus New Avengers?
versus any of these, I
But
would have
we
told you
did.
crazy.
Yeah!
Anyways. Next category. Best moment.
Oh,
This is a really cool and, again, heavily contested.
this was rough.
The nominees for this are Thor suddenly brings the hammer down on the Kree and frees his friends. If you guys are familiar with this, this is in Infinity when
Thor goes to bow.
when Thor bows down to the Kree who have just captured, bows down to the Builders who just captured all of the Kree and some pretty big. No spoilers, but
it's hammer time.
It's fucking hammer time. And that's an understatement. Infinity also brought us another amazing moment that actually made the cut on this list, and that's when Black Bolt defies Thanos as Attilan is being destroyed. Thanos shows up on Black Bolt's doorstep and basically, gives him an ultimatum, and Black Bolt basically says, "Fuck you!" Like, I'm gonna, he stands up to him.
Yeah,
Paul doesn't even yell profanity, but it blanks it out.
Yeah, and basically destroys his own city before Thanos can really do it, and basically shows Thanos that he's not afraid of him, even if Thanos is at as high power as Thanos is. He's not gonna tolerate him, his people being threatened. Death of Damian actually happened in Batman Incorporated.
That was a hard moment. Like, I was legitimately sad about that, and I like Damian. Oh my gosh, I'll talk about it if someone voted for it.
That was a very tough moment for me.
Yeah.
Because Batman's been a huge part of my life, but Damian, over the last couple of years, I've really grown to love him as if he is a real person, and his relationship with Bruce has been really fleshed out, multiple issues, and not even over a couple years. It's been a good 5 or 6 years now, and I don't really think I saw it coming either, and when I was reading interviews with Morrison, he said when he initially created Damian, he had always intended on him to die. And in fact, he said he intended on killing him off a couple years afterwards, but he grew to like him so much, and everybody grew to like him so much that he ended up keeping him around longer than he should have. He said, and I remember initially people didn't like Damian.
I didn't.
People thought he was too dickish, that he was abrasive, was hard to love, but it's like that's part of what makes him him, and you also, when he grows as a person and begins to change, it makes it that much more important and imperative.
What I really liked about him, though, was the Bruce dynamic. Like, it wasn't just the way Damian changed, it was the way it changed Bruce. Like, because Batman's been, I don't want to say he's been the same all this time, but like, he's pretty much been very similar most of the time. And like, to see Bruce kind of change as a person, to kind of grow with Damian as Damian, and to see Bruce in a fatherly role that's directly him actually being a father is different than him being a fatherly role to like Dick or any of the other ones he's had before. I hated Damian at first. I really grew to love him, and I was legitimately sad at that moment.
Yeah.
Ares' death happened.
I haven't got to that yet. Thanks for spoiling.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's spoiled, but this happened quite a decent while ago, so it's your own fault for not keeping up on it. But you still should read it because it's a really cool moment and really cool story arc. But Ares' death and therefore Wonder Woman's promotion to become the new God of War, even though she definitely doesn't want to be, and the really cool moment. It's not a sudden moment, kind of like the Thor, thing, but it's kind of something that shapes up and then comes to a head. And the fact that not only does Ares die, but Wonder Woman now has to become the new God of War, and that's kind of what's going down now is the whole family parliament type deal getting ironed out and what's going to happen from now on. The Hal Sinestro face-off whenever Sinestro becomes Parallax.
Oh, buddy.
Or he doesn't really become Parallax, he just harnesses the power of Parallax.
He takes Parallax and goes, "You're mine."
Yeah, he basically harnesses the power of Parallax. And this is in Jeff Johns' last issue on Green Lantern, which is another very sad moment. Like, even though it's freaking amazing when you're reading it, it was very sad reading it knowing that that this is going to be Jeff Johns' last issue after reading it for so many years. And then Joker tortures the Batman family in the death of the family. We talked about that earlier and how awesome it was. This was a category that's really hard to vote for. I voted for Death of Damian, and we already, I just talked about why it was so important and how it made me feel and how it really affected me. Drew, what was your favorite moment, or what did you think was the best moment of 2013?
I voted for one that didn't even make the top 3, but I voted for Black Bolt and Thanos because I just thought it was like Man, I'm not a huge. I don't know a lot about Black Bolt. I haven't read anything within a minute really, but this makes me want to. And he's a complete and total badass.
That's an understatement, man.
Yeah, he's just like,
I love Black Bolt.
who's this guy coming into my shit? He's like,
Who are you to come and make demands to me?
yeah, and Black Bolt's just great. I can't say more.
Austin, what did you vote for?
I voted for the House Sinestro Parallax face-off. Really, I think that's when the event came to a head, and it was so perfect. Like, you didn't really see it coming, but it's like you kind of get these established power levels in your head of how strong somebody is. Like, sure, people get a little bit stronger, but to know that Sinestro has so much fear in his heart that he grabs the literal embodiment of fear and says, I'm stronger than you at this, and becomes the embodiment of fear himself at that point in the story, and then kind of turns on Hal. Like, I set the book down and I'm like, the hell? This isn't supposed to be happening. And like, as you said, it's the last bit of John's run. You're like, no, this can't end like soon. There's no way. And I talked about it because I really want that Sinestro and Clix form too, because I mean, like, it's just, he's such a badass now after that. I mean, like, out of all these events, it's the one that literally had me saying, holy shit, afterwards.
This was, as far as voting distribution, this was the hardest, this was the most diverse. Pretty much all of these had one at least, and even the winner had like 3 and the 2 and the 1. So, third place was Death of Damien. Second was Joker torturing the family. Quite a few people had that as one of their 2, and then Thor bringing the hammer down on the Kree and bringing the hammer down on the builders and freeing the Kree. That was one of my 2.
That
votes.
was pretty cool though.
Yeah, it was just Jesus, man. It's like Boner James, as Phil put it.
Boner James 2013.
And last comics category, the nominees for Best Event of 2013: Infinity from Marvel, Age of Ultron also from Marvel, Forever Evil for DC, and Trinity War. And it's kind of hard to consider Forever Evil an event, even, you know what I mean? But
it was.
I threw it in here because it has enough tie-ins with it.
Yeah.
Well, considering that
to put
an
it in
entire
here.
month they just did villain
It was an
books.
event.
Yeah. It had enough tie-in books where I felt like I could throw it in here and warrant its inclusion. This was pretty much unanimous across the board. Did either of you have your vote for Forever Evil?
I voted for Forever
Okay.
Evil. I really liked Forever Evil, but I really liked it for the tie-ins, which is weird for an event because usually you don't like an event for the tie-ins. You get tired of tie-ins.
Yeah.
But Forever Evil's Villain Issue 0 was not only was it a cool idea, because I mean, like, for a comic company to say, we're not going to write superheroes for 1 month, we're just going to write villains, was crazy. And I mean, like, to read a Mr. Freeze and to read all this stuff, like, all these issue zeros for all these villains that some of them hadn't been introduced in New 52 yet, was awesome. I mean, like...
yeah, I was just going to say, like, this was a great idea on their part because they hadn't put, a lot of villains in yet. Like,
We've said Marvel should do something like that, too.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I also like how it kind of shifted the status quo for a bit. Because now you have a world run by villains, which you kind of see what kind of people these villains really are. Where are they really in it no matter what for the money? And even the ones you think are in it for, like, the money and the power, all of a sudden start having a heart when they realize how dark and demented everyone's become.
Mm-hmm. Austin was the only one who didn't vote for Infinity. Forever Evil got second, Infinity got first. It's kind of... It's an easy choice because Infinity was that amazing. Aside from, like, maybe Civil War and Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come was one of my favorite events, too. But this was up there for me, Marvel-wise. Tied with Civil War for best Marvel event, for sure.
I still just felt like Infinity puttered out towards the end, and that last issue just wrapped up so fast.
Well, I mean, it has to. You got so many irons in the fire that you have to wrap up, and you packed all this crazy nonsense in these books.
But the primary fight scene, the climax I waited for, was over in 2 seconds.
That's how it always is, though. With anything that's epic, even action movie, book, whatever. Like when so much crazy stuff happens during the main story, the ending always feels anticlimactic, even when it's really not that anticlimactic. You know what I mean? Like there's really no good way to wrap something that big scale up, other than a gigantic main character dying, which kind of happened with Thanos. You know, with the whole Thanos thing. If you really think about it, I mean, he didn't technically die, but he might as well be dead. So that'll do it for the comic section of the awards. We're going to do Clix 2013 awards. Now for this, depending on the category, I gave different numbers of nominees. So if it's in a category that we had a lot of chances, I got all your things written down there, Austin.
All right.
Actually, let me see that real quick. Depending on how many choices I had on each category, that depends on that will cause how many. I'm having a brain fart. That'll be why we have more entrants in some of these categories than we do in the other ones. First category is best support piece for Marvel. Now this is no point stipulation, just that the characters from the Marvel universe, and we're kind of talking the best at support powers, either your typical prob, outwit, perplex, or that and providing some extra stuff to your team. For example, Tony Stark, all he has is enhancement and outwit, but he also is pretty good secondary attacker, and he's providing Avengers Initiative for your team. And he has the ability to promote into an Iron Man 2, so he even makes the cut as a support piece, even though he's not your grandpa's, support piece. Nominees for this section: Brother Voodoo, Madam Web, Iron Man 3006 Tony Stark, Iron Man 3008 Aldrich Killian, Wolverine the X-Men Oracle, Main Set Rescue from Invincible Iron Man, Split Lip, and AVX Scarlet Witch at the 100-point option. Drew, who did you vote for? Who did you think was the best support piece? One of your three, and why?
The three I voted for were Brother Voodoo, Rescue, and Split Lip. I'll talk about Brother Voodoo. Brother Voodoo is a piece that is way too good for way too many reasons. He's got free mind control. His defense is super stupidly high. He has a free smoke cloud, which makes it harder to hit him. He's got phasing teleport. He's got all these tools that just make him probably one of the best piece support-wise in the game.
Maybe even in the entire year of Clix. You know what I mean? Like, he may be the best piece for his points.
He's definitely up there.
Austin?
I actually voted for the wrong Aldrich Killian. I actually was thinking of the 75-point one. I voted for the 75-point though because he has a traded stealth, but he's a build enabler. He enables ranged teams that have... Most time ranged teams get shut down by pure stealth. I liked him because adjacent friendly characters can use sharpshooter and ignore hindering. He gives friendly characters where their damage to armor keyword can be reduced below 1, and he himself has leadership perplex. But I do love the 35-point Aldrich that is on the list. I'm fine with moving my vote to him, no problem. 35-point barrier stealth. Opposing characters in 8 squares can't use ATAs. Now, this is huge because ATAs are really important to a lot of teams, and if your team hinges on an ATA, you really just shut down the whole opponent team with a 35-point piece.
He was even more important when he first came out because that was before Heroes for Hire got nerfed.
This guy would totally help wreck Phoenix 5. They could be way more easily outwittable and a bunch of other stuff.
His damage power is also... He can use support with a 9 attack, but if he heals them at all through it, they get +1 attack and damage, which is huge for duo figures. We've talked about how perplexes and stuff double up on duos. For him to be able to heal somebody and then have them also that turn shoot out a massive attack is amazing. For 35 points, that's a shoot, and Hydra team ability.
One of my votes, again, Brother Voodoo for sure. Split Lip though. Split Lip for 20 points.
Split Lip was my other vote. One of them I voted for.
He should probably cost double, if not triple, what he costs for what he
He
contributes.
shouldn't
to your
even be
team.
in the game.
Well, yeah, you might as well throw that out there. For 20 points, him giving the ability to pick up the hammers as a free action. I don't even need to get into how stupidly broken that is.
Get out of here.
And then they give him enhancement. Like, really? Like, you need to give him something on top of the fact. Like, he should just have a white dial if he's going to cost 20 points and be able to trade and let you pick up free hammers.
But there is one thing he doesn't have that I wish he did. The dwarf keyword.
That's a good point, also. Split lip. Probably the most undercosted figure of the most recent years.
Yeah,
I don't know. What do you guys think?
For 20 points.
Yeah. We have a top 3 in this category. We had 8 entrants. Third place was a tie between Aldrich Killian and Brother Voodoo. Second place actually went to a figure we didn't just mention. Avengers AVX Scarlet Witch at 100 points, which we didn't mention now. But
she is an all-in-one 100-point support piece.
we have brought her up previously multiple times and went over what makes her so amazing. And then first place did, in fact, go to Split Lip. So Split Lip is Best Marvel Support Piece of 2013. The category for Best Support Piece of DC. This was a little harder, not quite as a competitive category as Marvel. We didn't see as many DC sets this year as Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year it'll probably be kind of the opposite. We'll probably get a little more DC than we
We
will
also
Marvel.
got 2 Marvel events last year, whereas...
Right. Yeah. And but there's still some good pieces in this category here. We have Jinx from Teen Titans, Gizmo from Teen Titans. Are there any other Teen Titans figures on there? No. Laura Lorvan and Lois Lane, both from Man of Steel. If you're not familiar with either one of those, Laura Lorvan lets you bring back a Superman after they've been KO'd if you KO her instead. She's also not a horrible piece for her points, and she is a medic. Lois Lane is a really cheap outwitter that ignores characters when she uses outwit, so she can hide behind your guys.
Leap, climb, Indom.
And she can leap, climb, and Indom. Batmite, you already know what he does. Edward Nigma from the Arkham Origins set. Pandora, the con-exclusive Ellie, another very good piece that gets prob twice per turn.
And your opponents have to take an action token.
Correct, and they have to take an action token to prob, and she can. She has stealth and psychic blast, so she's sharpshooter, so she's really good herself. And Bookworm, Bookworm because he's pretty cheap. And also because this isn't that competitive of a category, or else he may not have made it on the list. But I think he's justifiably on this list because he's pretty cheap. He has outwit and some other powers, but he also has the ability to drop down that bookcase during the game, wherever you need it. And the bookcase is really good, but the fact that your opponent knows where it is and can try to avoid it, is what makes it not that good. But the fact that he can drop it wherever you need it when you need it is what is just amazing.
Yeah.
This wasn't as heavily contested of a category. Drew, what do you think was the best support piece for DC this year?
It was rough, but I went with Jinx. Jinx is insanely good for her points. There's just like barrier and prob and super senses for like 39 points is so stupid.
It's beyond stupid, man.
She's stupid. Jinx is stupid.
And Jinx is that piece where your first day, like, I don't think she got spoiled before the set came out.
No.
Nope.
And the first day that you play Teen Titans, you pull a Jinx, you're like, 39 point meh. But then you happen to play it one time and you're like, holy freaking god, this thing is so stupid for 39 points. Barrier and prob and super
for me, it was like, I want to play this piece and this piece and this piece, and I got like 50 points left over.
Yeah.
Oh, this chick has barrier, super senses, and prob. Okay.
I can deal with that.
That's a good setup.
Austin, who do you think is the best DC besides Jinx?
Piece I don't even want to talk about because I hate playing against it so much, and I'm really tired of him. Batmite. He's just so much for his points. We've been over him a dozen times about what makes him so great. I've had to play against him probably 3-4 times now, and I hate him.
I actually I've only played against him one time.
Yeah, I haven't even played against him.
So you must just be having some bad luck
I
with
hate
against Batmite. I also voted for Jinx and Batmite. My third choice was Gizmo.
Gizmo.
Really cool. He can absorb objects and give the rest of your team different powers depending on the situation, and the combinations in the for that is just endless. I mean,
Hunter, do you understand how horrifying it is when Gizmo absorbs a heavy and gives everyone like perplex or something, and you have a horde of horde tokens?
or gives some powerful giant piece abilities that it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like Psychic Blast on a team base that shouldn't have it, or like just there's a Psychic Blast on Shuma that it doesn't normally have. Like Pulse Wave.
Psychic Blast
it's just
on
ridiculous.
Force Blast on... Oh, wait, you can't get Force
Psychic Blast on old school Thanos.
Steal energy on everybody if it's late game and your guys need to heal up. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, the ability to keep constantly changing things is really awesome.
I like him because he was the Archetype enabler. He is the reason Horde tokens became a viable build at Gen Con.
Right.
Because those capabilities are just absurd. Like, he has so many options. He's a freaking toolbox.
So third place did in fact go to Gizmo. Second place was Batmite, and Jinx got the most votes. So Jinx is our DC support piece, best support piece for DC
Screw that bitch.
in the year of 2013.
She's good. She's too good.
Next is a category with 10 nominees because there's a whole lot of options in this, and so we'll be giving out a best 4. Most efficient, 100 points or less, Marvel. And when we say efficient, we of course mean how good it is for its point cost. Not necessarily as an attacker, not necessarily as a support piece, just what it does, it individually, what it does for its point cost, how efficient is it. We again see some of these pieces we've already talked about. AVX Switch at 100 points, Brother Voodoo. We have Split Lip on here again. And then we have some other ones we haven't talked about yet. We have Fear Itself Iron Fist, who we've talked about on pretty much every episode now of the podcast. 008, mind you, not the uncommon version.
Not the mighty one.
Alyosha Craven from Spider-Man. Wolverine the X-Men 206 Shi'ar Guard. And you say, what the heck is that random thing doing on there?
That guy's stupid.
Look at what he does for 27 points. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's 27 points. This guy, remember how excited I was when they spoiled this dude?
I played against a couple of them already, and they were really annoying for
these guys with the Lalandra, you might as well just give up. 27 points for charge, super strength, and 2 damage. And then minion power, where if they're within 8 of a higher character with Shi'ar, higher than 27, that's going to be difficult. They can use willpower and get +1 defense. And even if you're not playing them with that, though, just a 27-point chance to hit somebody for 4 for a 27-point figure, that's what you do with bystanders. And these guys have longer dials than bystanders.
27 points with super strength. Let that run through your mind.
Yeah, it's redonkulous.
You're ever worried about not using your objects.
And if the chance that you play this thing with Lalandra, just trust me, it's ridiculous. It deserves a spot on this list for sure. Flatman from Wolverine the X-Men, who we've talked about before.
He's so good.
28-point outwit carry because he has giant reach.
Plasticity.
He's just an energy shield. He's nuts for his 28 points. Split Lip, we don't need to mention. Jean Grey 209 from Wolverine the X-Men. I've talked about her a few times. Really love her. She's a piece that I still feel like a lot of people probably don't really realize exists. And she's 100 points of like the perfect blend of attacker/support piece.
Yep.
Because she starts off carrying your whole team without taking negatives if they share keywords. She has X Factor and X-Men, which works awesome for me. She has Running Shot, Psychic Blast. Then, as I said, she has some tastes of support there. She has Enhancement. Then later she gets TK. Then she gets Support. Then she gets Mind Control. Like, she starts off taking some Psychic Blast shots, and then late in the game, when you need her to, she picks up that TK to TK you back to her and then heal next turn. Or X-Men team ability next turn, which you have to take X-Men into account when you're talking about support too. Great figure for 100 points. And then Shocker from Amazing Spider-Man.
I love him.
65 points of running shot, hit somebody for 3 pin, and give him a token. dude's ridiculous.
3 damage Pinsai on a 65-point figure alone is ridiculous.
Yeah, and then couple that with the in-cap, and you get nuts. And the fact that his TA can sometimes help him get higher attacks than he normally would have. And then Wolverine the X-Men Toad. 40 points of great tie-up.
He's great.
Leap, climb, plasticity, reflexes that puts him at a high defense. And then if you hit him, he gets the ability where he gets the pick-up power, basically.
Yep.
And the possibilities are endless. You give him Steel Energy if you want to heal him up. If a lot of people have him base, choose Quake. There's a whole lot of things he can choose that make him really awesome. So those are the nominees. I voted for. We got to pick 3, but I'd say my main one is Brother Voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already talked about him. I won't waste time going over him. But Drew, anybody that you voted for that we haven't really talked about yet?
No, but I'll tell you who I should have voted for.
Who's that?
Amazing Spider-Man Shocker.
Yeah,
Because
he's sexy, man.
I agree.
that guy's so cheap. He's so good. No one expects what he does. Like, you're not going to be like, Amazing Spider-Man Shocker's super good. I mean, he's just probably shit, right? No.
There is something to be said about finding that piece
Yeah.
that you know is
Amazing.
almost game breaking.
Yeah.
But when people see it, they're like, "Oh, that piece is pretty good." But
Yeah,
you,
Shocker.
you know what I
know.
mean? Like they think it's a 7, and you really know it's a 9.5. You know
So,
what I mean?
like, yeah, I guess Penetrating Psychic Blast.
Yeah.
The token is...
There's something to be said about finding pieces like that. You know?
People underestimate Shocker, and it makes me laugh. This is all I gotta say.
Austin, anybody you voted for that we didn't really talk about a whole lot?
There were 2 pieces that I particularly voted for that I really liked, and both kind of for the same reason. I really like AVX Scarlet Witch, and I really like Jean Grey. They're those 100-point support pieces that are well rounded out. They're good tertiary attackers. They have a great set of support abilities, and they're both, of course, for great keywords. One's Avengers, one's X-Men. I mean, like, for their point efficiency, you get your full 100 points out of both of them.
So we had we gave out 4 places on this. 4th place was actually a 3-way tie with Jean Grey from Wolverine the X-Men 209, the Shi'ar Guard, and Iron Fist from Fear Itself, who we've talked about
I
relentlessly.
cannot stop talking about him.
Put him up top.
He actually just tied for 4th. The fact that dude tied for 4th tells you this category is stacked. This was the most stacked category, probably one of them at least. AVX Switch got 3rd place, Split Lip got 2nd, and Brother Voodoo actually got the most votes in this category.
Because he's stupid.
So most point efficient Marvel piece 100 or less was Brother Voodoo.
Screw off.
DC 100 points or less, most point efficient. Now,
Oh, gosh.
again, this
Here we go.
category is not as stacked as the Marvel one, but there's still some good stuff here.
Yeah.
Shiva from Arkham Origins. She was the best piece from that set overall. She's got the ability to stay stealth but still charge while she's in it. She's got precision strike. She dishes out damage. She ties up well. She's great. She has keywords. She has a good ATA option. She's just a really good attacker, perfect secondary attacker, point cost, and dial. Batman TV Robin at the 25-point option.
God.
And this is a guy who I played when we did that one sealed where I played all Batman 66.
He's so silly.
And he was nuts for 25 points. Any figure that you can start at only 25 points, is going to be good just for the clicks of life. But he has reflexes at 25. And he also, you're like a 10 attack, 2 damage. That's not that great. You also need to factor in his trait where any doubles is a critical hit. So even if he rolls a 6, he's swinging against a 20, if he rolls double 3s, he just hit you. Crit hits automatically succeed.
How many times have you taken a crappy figure and said, I'm going to roll for anyway, just for the hell of it? And I mean, you had like a 1 in a million chance anyway.
This guy has almost a 300 increased % chance of actually hitting you. So, and then he's actually tying you up too. So he's a really cool thing. And then you can do his Holy Crap Batman power if he's on those specific clicks too. And if you don't hit him hard enough, you knock him onto flurry, and you give him even more chances to roll double 3, 4, 5s, or 6s.
Having played against the bastard, I hate him.
I like
really
him.
annoying.
I think he's really cool.
No, I'm not. He's really good.
Jinx, Teen Titans Robin at 75 points. We haven't talked about him yet, and we haven't talked about him for a while. But he has a 75-point option. He starts with the free Smoke Cloud or in-cap. The in-cap's not free, but the Smoke Cloud is if you choose that option, and most people usually do because he has Teen Titans and Batman Ally. He also has charge and reflexes and leadership. And then he gets some outwit. If you would rather have outwit, you can just simply push him onto it, keep him stealthed. So, and then he ignores hindering terrain on movement. So whenever he's ready to move out of stealth and charge in, he doesn't have to take that negative. He's a sneaky good piece.
I played him in sealed a lot.
We've all played him, honestly, at least a couple times, and we've all really liked him. Free Smoke Cloud on a Batman team is sneaky, deceptively broken. This guy's really good and definitely deserves a spot. We have Wonder Girl. We've talked about a little bit. She's a piece that we all thought was really good when she first came out and the set first came out. She was hot, and then all the other team bases kind of took our focus off of her, and now we're seeing her make a run back in the meta and just really, really starting to kick ass again now, especially with hammers. Mm-hmm. She can hit you, pull you in after she hits you with a ranged attack, and then hit you again, only taking the -1 damage on the second attack, and she's really nuts. Most figures like that, when they hit you with that ranged attack, they don't deal damage. But the fact that she gets to deal damage both times is what makes her nuts. So
and she has the attachable relic.
Yeah, so if you can perplex her damage up, she dishes ridiculous numbers. Omen, we've sung the praises of before. Nuts figure for her points. Mind control.
Hates her with a passion.
I hate her. I hate playing against her, but I love the figure.
She's so much fun to play. Like
seeing through blocking, it's just not even.
This
right.
is a typical Austin figure.
It annoys the crap out of everyone else, but I love it.
Bunker, we love our favorite Mexican.
Gosh, I still love it. The Battle Royale.
Mexican mudslide.
Yeah.
And Gen Con hiding in the corner and burying myself in the Battle Royale.
There's this is my half of this list is my entire No Man's Land 60.
Bunker almost made the list as best support piece for DC. Honestly,
he's so ridiculous.
The smoke cloud and the barrier that don't go down, accompanied with the fact that he has Teen Titans again. You need to take that into account. We're talking about support, and then the fact that he can hit back when he needs to.
Yeah, he's got Quake.
He gets
got Perplex.
Yeah, he gets Perplex, CCE, and Quake, all of which are good good abilities. Teen Titans Ravager is a piece you don't see a whole lot, but it's really good for her points. She has Flurry, Blades, Super Senses, and Prob control on the first 3 clicks with
Flurry Blades
Indom.
character with Prob is weird. You don't see that often.
It's Spiral being the only one I really can think of off the top of my head. And then her last 3 clicks are... She's kind of a weird dial where she's 6 clicks long, but her first 3 are exactly the same, and then her last 3 are exactly the same. On her last 3, she still has Blade's Exploit. So she's nuts. So she doesn't have move and attack, but if you have a way to carry and drop her in, or TK her in, she's dishing out massive damage. An 11 attack, and makes you more likely to save that prop for your Blades roll instead of having to waste it on your attack.
She's a
roll.
very good finesse piece.
So Flurry, Blades, prop, first 3 clicks, and then Blades Exploit on the last 3 with reflexes. And the Super Senses on the top dial. Only 80 points. Really, really good. I actually need to try to play her again. She's really fun. General Zod from the Tab app, a piece that most people have never seen. That's the guy I played the other day with the Scientist. He's only 80 points. He gives lesser point Kryptonians a Superman team ability. Really. Superman enemy team ability. Really good.
And nothing like having a bunch of cheap guys all of a sudden having...
He also can mastermind to them too, to cheaper Kryptonians. He's really sneaky good and a good piece. If you ever see a Tab app for cheap, I recommend picking him up. And then Batmite, of course. And did you guys vote for anybody on the list that we really haven't talked a whole lot about?
Can I count Omen in that?
Sure.
I definitely voted for Omen. I still say people have not completely comprehended the power of this piece until you've been stuck either on the other side of her or playing with her. The sheer amount of positioning power she gives you over your opponent is huge. Your opponent has to avoid a 7-square radius, basically, from you to avoid -2s to defense or nerfing your damage down to, which is huge. And then on top of that, the mind control too. I mean, you could calculate or whatever the heck you want off somebody, for 81 points, and then she can mastermind.
I was going to say,
so
then
even when they go
mastermind.
after her, you can just mastermind onto something else.
Yep.
She's a great, great piece. The only thing I think that keeps her from being really, really, really good is her lack of keywords.
Absolutely.
Kind of keeps her in check.
I was going to
one would
say, I'm kind of glad she doesn't. Fourth place went to Jinx. Third place was Teen Titan 75-point Robin. Second place was Omen. And the winner for most point efficient, 100 points or less, actually went to Batmite.
Boo.
Most point efficient Marvel between 101 and 200 points. This is slightly fewer. We only had 8 entrants, so we'll do we'll still do top 4. AVX Spider-Man 125. We've talked about him before. Besides Scarlet Witch, the best piece to come out of the starter sets for sure. Silver Centurion. We've talked about on the cast. I think this is the piece whose stock is going to rise the most. He can only... Man, I can't talk enough about him. He's really stupidly good.
As I said, you're going to have your own Mad Money show. The stock in Silver Centurion
Seriously.
is rising.
He's amazing.
As Drew would say, Silver Centurion's value.
Doug from Thor Dark World.
Yeah.
125 points, gives other people keywords that help him make a theme team. He can also mastermind to them. He's really good with the book also for that because one of the keywords is armor, which Splitlet pass. So now you get the theme team with armor. Deathlock Prime is really good for his point efficient for his cost. Phantom X, Spiral, even after the changes, that dial is really good for that point cost. And Warstar from the team base, and Fear Itself Hawkeye with the triple end cap plus dealing you damage if I hit the roll, which if you're Austin, you hit all the time.
Yep.
Anybody you guys voted for on this list that we haven't really covered in depth?
I voted for AVX Spider-Man as my big one. I mean, we've gone over him a little bit before, but really, I think he's a piece that a lot of people are starting to discover. I'm starting to see him a lot more at events as time's going on. He's an absolute monster for 125 points. It's borderline ridiculous. He has shape change on top dial, combat reflexes to put him to a 19 in melee. You could shoot him at range, but then you have to deal with a 50% super senses or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not a fun piece to play against. And as you brought up earlier when we were talking about him, he can move wherever he wants. So you can never anticipate what your opponent's going to do with him.
Yep.
And then he has super strength and all this other crap. He's a really obnoxious piece to be sitting across from. And on your team, he is well worth 125 points, in any day of the week.
I've played against him 5 rounds now. I finally killed him for the first time today.
I didn't kill him today.
Yeah, today was the first time I actually managed to kill the son of a bitch.
I got lucky and one-shot him with a crit.
So, anybody you voted for, Drew, we haven't really covered in depth?
No.
The only one, I voted for Phantom X. Yeah. Silver Centurion too, but Phantom X, we've talked about on the show before. Running shot, stealth, shape change, just has a lot of ways to dodge. He also has Eva, who gives him outwit. He has potential. I don't know. I still stand by the fact that he's going to be an important meta piece. Not S tier or anything, but I think he's low A at least, or high B. And definitely something to consider, especially with Power Plant or Utility Belt. Fourth place went to Spiral, actually. Even if you don't use that trait, the Pulse Wave plus the Prob Control, and then the Clix of the Flurry Blades, re-rolling the blades, just gets pretty nuts.
We talked about her when they first spoiled her, and we said her dial enough is efficient for her points. And I fully agree with that. I think that makes her majorly efficient.
Third place prize went to Spider-Man at 125, which we just talked about. So that not that surprising to see him up there. Second place was Phantom X, and first place, most votes went to Silver Centurion. So he's the most efficient between 100 and 200. The DC section is actually more competitive on this than I had initially thought. You got Deadshot from Arkham Origins. The dude's damage and attack output at 150 is beyond nuts. Plus the fact that he's calculator can copy Batman enemy and share
he's
that.
just got an amazing toolkit.
A Man of Steel 003 General Zod at 125. He can perplex and perplex everyone within range and line of fire that shares a keyword with him, and he has Soldier. So he's pretty good. He's kind of a sleeper piece.
Soldier and Brute.
Excuse me. Yeah, and Kryptonian, which is also a pretty good keyword. Mastermind also. And he can deal the damage to any friendly with lower point value within 3 squares in line of fire. And that doesn't require keyword either, like the other Zod does. He also has some attack abilities. Running Shot, 11 attack, Energy Explosion, Sharpshooter, 2 bolts. That's pretty damn good. This dude's really cool. He has leadership and can remove action tokens from an adjacent character. He can, instead of removing action tokens from him, he can modify the character's attack and damage +1. So usually if your adjacent guy has no tokens, you're like, I'm wasting my leadership. Not with this dude. If you hit it, you're at least buffing them +1 attack and damage.
Yeah.
Really cool piece. Who else do we have here? We have Little Lobo from Teen Titans.
We talked about him originally when we first started the podcast.
One of the most annoying sealed pieces to face, man. The dude heals. He's really solid for his points from melee. Dr. Light, another Teen Titans piece. Sharpshooter, 9 range, Psychic Blast, Wild Card, Running Shot, and he has probably the best stop Clix in Clix history. He's the one when he stops and gets to also clear all the tokens off of him, and he still has super senses on that click too, I believe. And he's another example of, as I was doing these, I was like, Teen Titans was an excellent set. He does still have stopped
he's got
super
9
senses.
range.
Everyone's
he
just
has
so focused on Justice League.
4 damage outwit, 11 attack, Psychic Blast on that stop click
9
too.
range outwit.
For 135 points, he's extremely good.
He's probably one of my favorite sealed pieces.
Green Lantern at 110, really nuts. He's the one who can pick a power. We've talked about him before. It's pretty obvious that picking a power is really good. Teen Titans Deathstroke was a piece that I'll admit I slipped on. I didn't really realize when I first saw him how good he was for his points, but as I played against him a few times, dude tears me up every time. Yeah. I mean, his damage output.
He's like Taco
He's one of those pieces you have. He's one of those pieces you have to target, but you hate targeting because he has super senses, combat reflexes, and all that crap.
And meanwhile, he's just shredding your team.
Yeah, if you don't target him.
Yeah.
Just like Taco Bell shreds your stomach.
Kid Flash, the figure I hate. Basically, you give him an action token, you go across the map, roll dice, and you go back. He doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to do anything. You just place him next to your opponent, roll dice, and place him back in your starting area.
He is stupid.
And Cyborg from Teen Titans. This is the guy who can see through objects. His dial's really efficient for his point cost. And actually, I'll use him for my example because I was the only one who voted for him.
I almost did.
Yeah, he's 0.25 from Teen Titans at 143. And you say, well, he lacks leap climb on his top dial. He doesn't need it because he can draw a range line of fire through objects.
You mean he lacks
and
shot?
He has psychic. What'd I say?
You said leap climb. He has leap climb.
Or sorry, he lacks move and attack, but you say he only has leap climb, but he doesn't need it because he can see through objects. He has prop control, psychic blast, sharpshooter. With sharpshooter coupled with the fact that he can shoot through objects, you're not hiding from the son of a gun unless you're stealth.
He's one of those few pieces where if I see him on the other side of the field, I start popping objects first as soon as possible. Yeah. Like I start drawing lines of fire to every object.
He makes you think a lot more about your positioning too. I mean, and then he has energy shield and invul in the prop whenever they come after him. And he stays very solid as his dial goes on. There's not a click that he doesn't have either psychic blast, energy explosion, or pulse wave. Not a single click.
And then the ones he has energy explosion, he has freaking outwit.
Yep. So he most of his clicks he has prob or outwit too. So this is another piece that you may want to bust out and test and try around with with this guy because I feel like he doesn't get played enough. I don't think I've ever played against him.
Harry played him against me once and he tore me up.
I've played with him, but I don't think I've ever played against him.
I highly underestimated him.
So I'll use him. He was one of my 3 that I voted for. Anybody you guys voted for that we never really covered in depth?
Yeah, Dr. Light. Dr. Light is one of those pieces where he's you think at first that his his trait or whatever where he takes additional damage from Teen Titans is terrible, but
it really only matters in sealed.
That's right. He's got a tremendous upside. I mean, for 135 points, you get calculator, you get running shot, a 9 range running shot, with 9 range.
And Psychic Blast.
And
And
Psychic-
Sharpshooter.
And if they get up on you, you have super senses. He has a stop click, which makes him even stupider. It's just a ridiculous piece, and the guy is so slept on. And
He kind of has low-ish attack values on the first couple clicks with the 10 and then the 9, but that can be fixed with some support or with team ability tricks with the calculator, because he is a wild card. And he has Scientist keyword too, which isn't that hard to build around.
I went with Little Lobo. Personally, I feel like for 102 points, I couldn't ask for more. For a secondary attacker / tie-up piece for 102, I mean, like, his trait, he heals one if he's adjacent to enemies every turn, or at the beginning of your turn. He has Charge Exploit on his first style, then Charge Blades Exploit, then Flurry Blades Battle Fury, and then Flurry. He drops on a Close Combat Expert. He's a 3 damage for 4 clicks, then 2, then picks up Close Combat Expert for those 2, so it doesn't really matter because he's already up in the thick of things.
Yep, if you need him to, he'll go to 4 with that.
He gets blasted for 5 damage. Oh no, I'm a 17 invul now, and I'm still up in your face healing one every
I was going
turn.
to say, and I'm just going to heal it up next turn. Clear,
like,
heal again. Oh, Flurry Blades.
For 102 points, and he has Endom. I mean, like, that's another thing, like, they've started scaling back the Endom on figures a little bit. For 102 points to get Endom and all that in one package is amazing.
He actually did make the cut. He tied. There's a 3-way tie for 4th place with Lil Lobo, Deadshot, and Cyborg. They each had 1 vote.
I think I voted for 2 of those.
3rd place went to Man of Steel Zod at 125 points. 2nd place went to Green Lantern at 110 points. The options with that dude are just too good to ignore. And 1st place went to Deathstroke for the 100 and 200 point category. In our category of 201 to 300 point Marvel, of course, there's not as many options, so it'll be a very quick category.
thank God.
Just picking 2, just doing the top 2. Our 4 nominees were War Machine Prime, King Hyperion, that's the one that can kill friendly, cheaper dudes and heal off of them, and he's also nuts and hypersonics around, smacking everybody. He also, don't forget, he clears action tokens on that too. Absorbing Man Titania, Austin's been talking about a lot lately on the podcast, really worth their points. A really fun piece to play. Malekith at 225, the one from Thor Dark World 004 who can take away your defense abilities with his trait. And he has good range, he has good values, he's a lot of points, but he's worth all of those points. 2nd place, actually 2 pieces on this list were the only 2 that got votes, even though all 4 of these pieces are pretty good. And that was, 2nd place was the War Machine Prime. The dude just...
The amount of alpha potential this guy has. You give him 2 action tokens, you running shot Pensai, I'm just going to do anything else I want. How about some ranged combat expert or something? Like, there's just so many options.
Or how about I run back to my starting zone?
Yeah, I mean, like, one guy I played against TK Yo-Yoed, which was the most annoying freaking thing. It's 2 actions clear, 2 actions clear, 2 actions clear. And just back and forth, and it's just like, what am I supposed to do against this?
And then that would be good enough for his point cost already, and then you give him the revenge tokens.
Gosh.
You're just like, why?
He's so stupid.
Why do these revenge tokens exist?
He's easily, like, for his points, you get your money.
And the winner of most efficient 2 to 300 point Marvel piece, King Hyperion. He punches hookers in the mouth, and not only does he punch them and kill them, he steals their soul.
That's right.
He heals from it. He removes his action tokens. Don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but apparently they thought it was a good idea. I'm surprised we haven't seen him top 16 yet. I think there's an off chance that we will. I don't think he's a great meta piece, but I think he definitely is certainly viable.
Honestly, you know what I think might push him more over? It would be when the Phoenix Force resource style gets the rest of its shards, playing him alone with a bunch of those.
Perhaps.
Or like he kills his own figure to trigger the...
Yep. His only thing holding him back is that high point cost. But still an excellent figure for his points. The DC category, there are even less slim pickings, though.
Yeah.
We have the same General Zod, but from Man of Steel 003, but at full points. We have Trigon at 300 points.
Your best friend.
Which is actually a good piece. I played him at 300 when I did that Highway to Hell team of all the devil, the devil figures, and he was very good. I was surprised.
Those figures are the devil.
Harvest and along with his staff, since you can pay extra points and start with it on it, I let that be included.
Sick nasty.
And Superman and Wonder Woman at 250, so that they would fit in this points category. Again, or actually, we did have 3 separate votes. Second place went to Trigon at 300 points.
He's cool.
He gets to place the free barrier tokens, it's just 2 at the 300 point level. He still has Mystics and Quintessence, Running Shot and Psychic Blast, or Running Shot per prob.
Shape change.
Running Shot, Psychic Blast, that's correct. With 2 targets, 8 range, and then at the beginning of the turn, he gets Barrier as a free action. And he can only place 2 blocking terrain markers, but they're 8 range line of fire. And they also don't have to be next to each other, so you can do them separately. And then when they remove from the game, you deal 1 damage to the opposing characters adjacent to. So it would be good enough if you just got to hide yourself wherever you wanted, but the fact that then you take them away and they deal damage is really awesome.
He's a blast on Realm of Death. I played against someone playing him on that map once. It was annoying as hell. Because he just barriers up to block a 2-wide hallway, and you're like, wow, I really wanted to do something this turn.
Shape change on top dial. He turns into sort of a melee piece with Charge Exploit after that. Then he gets Mind Control Pulse Wave, 2 awesome options, and that's when he gets Perp and Prob at the same time. And then he gets his Psychic Blast back again. And then at the end, he has a Stop Click, and it's a 19 regen Super Senses. So, and with Perp and Prob, so you could even throw that up to a 20 if you needed to clear something. Dude's really good. Dude's deceptively good because you got to think you're also taking Mystics while you're chipping that away too.
Yep.
So.
And Hunter has 7 of them, so if you want one, call it.
I did at one point. I don't anymore. He got second place. General Zod at 300 got the first place vote.
This guy is so stupid.
At 225, he is pretty much the same figure, aside from the fact that he comes back to life.
Yep.
When you take out what would have been his 125 point option, he then magically turns into, he gets wing symbol and Indom. He has 10 charge, 12 attack. Mind you, he has Kryptonian, so you can make that a 13 for 2 points. A special attack power of Super Strength Quake. After action resolve, place him next to a figure that was knocked back, and then make another close combat attack against him as free action. So charge, hit him with super strength for 7 damage, and then if they're somehow still alive, follow them after you knock them back, and then hit them again. Dude's nuts. Impervious. Just the fact that he can transform, kind of has the Spidey 2099 flavor with that.
Yeah.
He turns into a beast all of a sudden, and your opponent really doesn't expect it because he doesn't get played that much. Best resource, we had just the Book of Skulls, Power Plant, and the Phoenix Force, which we haven't gotten finished out yet, but I wanted to include on here in case people want to vote for it. Austin was the only one to vote for Book of Skull. It got second place.
I think Book of Skull is more... I voted it as best over Power Plant because I saw it as more... It's usable on almost any team. Like, you can basically throw Book of Skull, if its resources allowed, on almost any team pretty much, and it's good. Hell, you could run Book of Skull with 1 hammer and 1 figure, and it's still decent. I mean, like, there's really not a time that I couldn't fit it on something. Whereas Power Plant I saw was more of a ranged bonus.
You're completely right about that. And the fact that you also have to take Split Lip into account on this too. I mean, this was very...
I voted without Split Lip though.
It was of course very close, but I honestly thought that I think that the Power Plant is slightly better for the points. Gives you just more damage output on... Okay, let me put it this way. You're right that the book makes more figures, a wide array of figures better, but I think the figures that the Power Plant makes better, it makes them way far better than the Book of Skulls can make them. Does that make sense to you? Like the specific figures, the specific figures that work retardedly good with the Power Plant go beyond S tier. They go mega god tier. They go Exodia tier.
The only thing I would say about the book, though, that I think
For your obscure reference.
that the power plant doesn't exactly work with is the ability to get power cosmic is huge, but willpower, of course, off of Noel's hammer. But there's also the major combat value bonuses. The power plant can drain rings for +1 to combat values, which is good. But the fact that down dial you could pick up Imperv, Pulse Wave, +3s, and something else is absolutely insane. And I've lost whole games to people landing on that.
Yeah. I also, one thing the power plant has going for it is the different array of
Choices.
teamwork and choices that it can give you.
Yeah, I agree.
Free action stealth.
I voted for it because it's like
Matter rearrangement.
the biggest toolbox you could possibly want.
I still have a quote what I did against Hunter in practice over and over again with the power plant, and that is drain a ring so that way my duo that can see through stealth or see through hindering can outwit flight on wasp, so that way I can give someone else the knockback ring and force blast them into the side of the map for a ton of damage.
I mean, you're taking a Astral Strange that costs 14 points, giving him a Force Blast ring, Force Blasting a figure that had Impervious off of Elevated for 3 penetrating.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Get out of here, kid.
It did get the most votes, but it was very close. Book of Skull got second. Power Plant actually got the number one, which I was surprised. I thought I'd be the only person who voted for Power Plant.
Nope.
Team basis, we had 6 nominees, but we're only doing top 2. We're going for most efficient, and we're going at these specific values. JL at 300, the Coca-Cola Classic.
The Coca-Cola Classic.
Shiar at 600, which
The
is...
new Coke.
Shiar is, yeah, the new and improved Coke. New Mutants at 100. Hellfire at 300. Hellfire at 200. And Blue Strike Force at 300, which is when they pop off Gambit at his amazing click. And they're also a pretty solid base as they are. And when you think about these bases, you also need to consider the pop-offs and what values they would come in at said point value. Second place went to Shiar 600. No surprise there that it was one of the top ones.
Yeah.
This thing dishes out, post changes, it still dishes out too much damage. It can power action to get over wherever the hell it needs to go. It can flurry from Gladiator's thing. The pop-offs are ridiculous. Warstar and Gladiator and Hussar, who does the incap that gets +2 attack. Just nuts.
Just nuts.
And just the base in
All
general,
over the place.
just so nuts. Pulse Wave, 6 damage outwit. Invincible that has power cosmic behind it. Are you kidding me? Like,
Get out of here, kid.
it's really nuts. I meant to say 500 points. This is probably I was surprised this got second. Honestly, I think it's the best. Very slightly nudging out the Justice League team base, which actually got first place in our voting.
I think the reason it got second is because this was the year of the Justice League. Once Teen Titans hit, all you could hear about was, holy shit, this team base is so stupid.
And for good reason, because before changes, it really was. I mean, the only thing saving it was something even more stupid coming out in the form of Heroes for Hire. So
yeah, that was the only way you could beat it. The only way you could have beaten it was with something way more stupid.
So Justice League at 300 got number 1, even post changes, mind you.
Yeah, but
it's still really efficient. Has good pop-offs with Batman, especially, and some other ones. And our good friend Edward actually just got second at the Super Qualifier in Tulsa with the Justice League 300, the only team base that was in the top 16.
I voted for Hellfire 200.
Yeah,
which is equally stupid.
Because for 200 points, like, that is... You can't find a single figure for 200 points.
Even at 100, it's still...
It's hard for me to say... I can think of any figure for 200 points or less that has that much like power condensed for 200 points. Like, it's so obnoxious. The combat value modifiers, Black King pop off, all that stuff is just absurd.
Best relic. This is a category where you have to consider most of these if not all of them except Doc Ock Arms, are coming off of resources. But when we're doing this category for Relic, we have to take in consideration the roles that also are required to pick these dudes up. And their point costs, if you play them separately off of the resource. Our 6 nominees are Flame Blast and Black Light for the rings. We have Night Vision Goggles from the Utility Belt, Nulls and Anger's Hammers from the Book of Skulls, and then Doc Ock Arms from Spider-Man. And if there are some really new players who aren't familiar with the Doc Ock Arms, they give you extra bolts and they give you perplexes to spin on yourself. But the problem is it's really hard to pick the some bitches up, so that's why I never try them. Yeah. So the payoff on these guys is really good. They're only 8 points, and they're giving you minimum range 4, 3 targets, and perplex twice on yourself. But it's a 5 to 6 pickup. So all those factors considered, power level of these things, and the pickup ratios, what did you think was the best relic this year, Austin?
I went with Blacklight Ring. I think these rings, outside of the resource even, they are a 50-50 pickup. But Blacklight in particular is amazing because unlike some of these other ones where it's dependent on what character you pick it up on, you could pick Blacklight up on literally any character on your team and it's useful. Blacklight is this character can use Smoke Cloud as a free action. Opposing characters that begin their turn in a square with one of these terrain markers placed by this ability modify their speed and range -2. This character and adjacent friendlies can use stealth if they occupy a square with one of these terrain markers. So, this is a super utility relic. You could pick this up on your crappy Donald Blake, who's in the back not doing anything.
Donald Blake crappy.
Well, like, most of the game until someone takes damage, he's not really doing anything.
I was using it on Donald Blake whenever we did our ROC, and it was ridiculous.
And unlike the resource, this never has to go away. Whereas with the resource, you have to consume a ring to keep putting, or consume it every turn as your ring drop to keep putting it out there. You really could drop this on, or you could pick this up with anyone. So if you fail on your main character, oh well, someone else will pick it up.
Yep.
Personally, like I want to say it was almost no contest compared to the rest of them to me.
Huh.
Drew, what would you think? What do you say is the best relic for 2013?
Friggin' Anger's Hammer.
Oh, even with that 5-6 pickup, you think it's well worth it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. How many points does it cost?
It's 8 friggin' points.
So a 33% chance to pick it up?
For charge, regeneration, steel, energy, and toughness? Yeah. I'll take that any day.
You don't want the +2 attack that comes with
Oh,
it?
you mean the +2 attack? Sorry, Blacklight Ring, but I'm pretty sure Anger's Hammer shits all over you.
The only reason I don't is because...
Sorry, no.
Yeah,
No.
If you miss
No,
it on your
don't
main
care.
character, it's worthless.
I don't care.
And
No,
that's the
it's
sucky
not.
thing about relics.
Put that on anyone. Put that on Army Private and
Put it
watch
on
him
Donald
go
Blake.
down.
Who can't have his combat values modified. So he does miss the 2.
Well, you're not going to roll it with Donald Blake. But all I'm saying is, the guy who designed this is an idiot. Anyway, go ahead.
You heard us, WizKid employee. You know who you are.
I also voted for Blacklight Ring.
Here.
I just think...
High five for winners.
I think the 50-50 is what makes it, though.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
really what came
if it was a 5-6 as well, I probably would go with Angers and Nulls. But I like the 50-50 aspect of the rings for what they provide.
That's why you play characters that make it easier.
Yeah, if it on luck stuff involved, I usually go for stuff. Oh, you mean playing like a like priests and stuff like that?
Or whatever.
Yeah. As far as the voting was concerned, third place went to Blacklight though. Doc Ock Arms got second,
I voted for Doc Ock Arms.
and Anger's Hammer got first.
I don't know how I feel about Doc Ock Arms.
They're great.
I have not and probably will not ever play
That's
them
how
because I can't hit a 5-6. So
You're right, Hunter. You can't.
So
I picked them up in one game, and it was great, but like, I feel like you really have to get a character like Brother Voodoo or someone who really takes advantage of it.
if they want to push relics, which I think is not a bad idea, I think they need to make more of them like the rings and make them 50-50. Maybe tone them down a little bit, but I would rather have a toned down relic that I can hit 50-50 than a stupid good one that I can pick up at 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Like that's just me. That's just me. Well, Mjolnir's a 6, but
No, that's what I'm saying.
that's just me, my opinion. But Next category is the most efficient LE. The nominees are Ravager, that we already talked about from Teen Titans, Absorbing Man from Iron Man LE. This is the dude who has the defense ability where when you hit him, you have to roll exactly how much damage you're dealing him for him to take any at all. It can't be ignored, can't be countered. We have an excellent rules video of him on our YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. Fear Self Odin at 350 from again Fear Self. He is the one who helps lower point people. He really helps his team even though he's at 350. He has Hypersonic that's not halved on range. He has Power Cosmic. He has Outwit, 6 freaking damage, 12 attack, again a 9 range that you're not going to have. And he also gives standard attack powers to other people less than 150 on his team. And then later he gets a damage ability when he gets Running Shot Pulse Wave, a damage ability where he gives buffs the values of his friendly guy. So even though he's really expensive and can deal damage, he also helps your team too. So he's a cool piece that we haven't talked about a whole lot.
I had a blast playing him.
Loki at 30 points.
We
have talked about for really good. Move and attack, Indom, move and attack that doesn't take -2. He can also carry. He has prob if you push him once, outwit if you push him twice. Really good for his points.
So move and attack that doesn't modify you. What you mean is he has hypersonic as a combat symbol.
Right, but the only difference being hypersonic you can do when you're based. You can't do move and attack when you're based.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Serpent at 600. It's hard to really nail down what would be the best value for a Serpent, but when I really looked at these, I like 600 the best. Considering the dial and considering the fear dial and what you get from the fear dial.
That's the free action dial, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah,
I think this was his best option, and we have to consider him because he is a LE.
Yeah.
Who did you vote for, Austin, for best?
I definitely went with the 30-point Loki. I mean, like, you are not going to find that is a. I've played against him. I've played with him. Easily one of the best 30 points you could spend in this game. Hypersonic, duo attack, or not hypersonic. Move and attack with no negative. Duo attack. He pushes onto prob and then outwit. He's not a bad figure at all for 30 points. We've talked about like how 30-point outwits or 30-point probs are amazing. 30-point either or is retarded. That
carries when they move in and can be a secondary attacker too. I apologize, I said Indom earlier. He does not in fact have Indom. The dude's really good for his point costs, and he was even one of our entrants on our support area for his point costs for Marvel. Drew, was there anybody differently you voted for the LEs?
Absorbing Man. I mean, he's not great as a main attacker, but as a secondary threat and a tie-up piece, he's nuts.
Did you see the recent ruling against him?
Yeah.
It's not really against him, honestly. It's more
it shouldn't have been for him in the first place.
It's more of a clarification. Well, the way it's worded, I mean, they kind of worded it really shittily, but...
Oh, wow, WizKid's wording something wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is...
Well, you still need to take into account... The thing with Absorbing Man is even when you could absorb 2 objects, all I need to do is toss a light object at you, and now you're down to +1 or something. So or hit you with a resource or something.
But either way, he's still a ridiculous tie-up piece. Give him the hammer that has plasticity and just laugh your way to the bank.
Ellie's second place was Loki. And Absorb Man got the most votes, first place. But both figures, I think everybody voted for those two. Even though Ravager's pretty good, and there were a couple other good choices. Loki for that 30 points, ridiculous. And Absorbing Man is one of the most frustrating pieces in the game to fight against. Bar none.
If you're unlucky, you could literally never beat him.
True, which is why I hate him so much. This category is a really fun one and a really competitive and hard to pick one. And that is most efficient non-DC, non-Marvel.
I thought this was an easy choice.
Really? I thought it was hard. Did you think it was hard, Drew?
I thought it was terribly hard.
There's a lot of good freaking pieces in this category. We have Harrowblade from Mage Knight. Really stupidly good for these sets. Charge, Exploit. After he kills, he sidesteps and hits again. He has a really good team ability. He has Indom. He has a lot of things that a lot of pieces in these sets don't have. And he's just an amazing damage disher. Raiden Mars has
tons of damage.
He has basically every power in the freaking game on his
Seriously,
trait.
Yeah.
And at certain times you can use them all and not take a negative from it because if he's not clearing already. He also sees through characters and has really good range and can move about really freely. Really helps the rest of your team. Bonebreaker Shaman is the orc who can TK, enhance, support, psychic blast, perplex. I talked about him when we did the Lord of the Rings about how good he is. Arwen is a piece we haven't talked about for a long time, but she has the best epic action in the entire game of Heroclix that honestly probably needs to be
nerfed.
It needs to be watch listed.
If they cared about Silver Age, they'd watch listed.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Silver Age, you can't
not.
do it at 300 because it's epic action.
If they care about Silver Age,
if they care
Marvel
about
DC.
friendly game, like non-WizKids official events,
This-
they would... Arwen should be the first piece that they
This
change.
figure ruined the entire Gen Con Lord of the Rings tournament.
Tournaments,
yeah.
All of them.
All three of them.
There were 5, I think. They ruined all of them.
Fellowship of the Ring Saruman, really cool piece.
Yes.
Mind control with 8 range through
Blocking.
pretty much everything. I think he knows blocking and elevated, is it?
I think,
Yep.
yeah.
On line of fire. He also has outwit and prob too, and really good piece for his points. Slattern is 600. Now this is our only entrant from Pacific Rim. The dude dies and then comes back to life, and he is just
so
a beast.
hard to kill.
And that coupled with the fact that he has mystics, he has good damage, he has good abilities. He's expensive, but if you're playing a big points game, this guy's really nuts.
Some of you have not played against this piece. Try not to.
All it's going to take is one day for you to go up against this piece with a gauntlet for you to just want to give up at life.
I made Austin pretty much want to give up at life.
I wanted to quit Heroclix after that game.
Austin was on suicide watch there during that game.
That was bullcrap.
It was actually pretty interesting to see.
I'm still mad at you.
It was interesting to see Austin get so upset at this
The
game.
guy has mystics and he comes back to life. That's all you need to know.
If you can hit the bastard, he's got like a freaking 18-19.
Yeah, I kept perping him too. Halder, we've talked about a lot recently, so I don't want to talk about him too much, but this is the figure from Two Towers,
How dare.
who enhances, has a good epic action that gives the rest of your team extra shots.
Yeah.
Legolas from Desolation of Smog, the starter set version. Main thing you need to know about him, Sharpshooter, Energy Explosion, Precision Strike.
Yep.
Those 3 words, and Running Shot.
Hey, Detroit stealing Lord of the Rings.
Correct, and also, well, even better because he has 2 bolts,
Yeah.
and he has only has 1. This guy's really good because in Lord of the Rings you stay clumped up a lot, you know, in Mage
Enhanced
Knight.
ball and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he gets even more energy explosion off. Slate, we've talked about a long time ago from Bioshock Infinite, really good. Barriers out and then pulse waves away from it.
He's actually really stupid.
Even without the enhancements, he's still...
Yeah, and then you hit him and he goes on to Blades, I think. Let's pull him up.
He's like 70 points.
It's been a long time since we pulled him up, but he's one of the better. 75 points. He has the special barrier thing. He has traded poison. Each time a friendly character is KO'd, you can immediately place Slade in that square. So... say one of your guys gets shot down and Slade's being rushed down right now. Oh, I'm going to magically place him back safely out of
hey,
harm.
one of my guys had your support piece based. Oh, he died. Oh, I'm just going to put Slade next to there and poison him every turn.
So you can barrier out his... you can shoot out his barrier at 6 range, then pulse wave from the barrier afterwards. He has willpower and an 18 defense at those clicks too, and then when you base him, he has exploit. Then if you do hit him, he goes charge blades. So he's really, really nasty for his point value. Bard the Bowman also made the cut, the main set one, and that's because he has Iron Paladin and Malachus thing, except it's actually better, and I'll explain why. Bard the Bowman, 009, like I said, he has an attack ability. When he makes a ranged combat attack against a single character, the target can't use defense powers during...
hit
during the attack. It's not even when they're hit. So they do not get super senses, whereas Malekith they do get super senses. So.
For 83 points, he's an awesome.
For 83 points and running shot with sharpshooter on that too. So pretty good piece. This was a tough category for me, probably the toughest. I don't care what Austin says.
I think Arwen was a shoe-in.
So Austin, his choice was Arwen.
Screw Arwen.
Drew, anybody who really stuck out to you in this category?
All the Mage Knight pieces are stupid. Slattern
got my vote too.
Is a dick. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, Arwen, Slattern, and Heroclix and Raiden Mars or whoever.
I really liked Saruman a lot too.
Yeah, actually,
having played him at the Lord of the Rings events,
me too. Yeah.
He looks a lot better than he plays, though.
Every time I've played with or against him, he has been the piece on the board that destroys everybody. You do have to worry about his placement because you don't want to get characters. But if you can get it, probably also comes down to map.
That too.
But
with the Mouths of Sauron, which by the way, look that piece up, it's amazing. But he's just a wrecking machine,
and he actually got 4th place with it. He got 2 votes. 4th place went to Saruman. Halder got 3rd place, definitely warranted. Slattern got 2nd, and of course Arwen got 1st.
Yeah.
So I mean, Austin, you're talking about a category that Slate didn't even get top 4 in. Think about that.
Slate though, I loved Slate. But then when I learned that enhancement doesn't work with him, it really, really lowered him down my list.
but he can still be perked and he's still good.
Well, that puts him from originally he was it's unmodified damage for Pulse Wave, isn't it?
No, it's just the fact that you'd have to have them next to
Okay, I couldn't remember if Pulse Wave ran off.
You'd have to have them next to the barrier token, and when you do that, you hit them. So
I was thinking of Black Bolt's Pulse Wave's printed damage, and that's what threw me off. I like Slate. I'm not gonna lie, I love Slate. He's a fun piece to play. I recommend to everyone. But when it came to most efficient pieces that I expect to see a lot of, Arwen, I voted Haldir, I voted Slattern, and I voted I think Raiden Mars or Heroclix. They were both really good for their points, either or.
I really wanted to vote for Heroclix, but I had to use my brains and not my heart, and I didn't go with Heroclix. But
what are you saying? People who voted for Heroclix?
No. I'm just saying
when I vote for Heroclix have heart but not brains.
I wanted to vote for Heroclix because I personally like him, but I thought that Saruman was a little better piece for the points.
Okay, I see where we're going with it.
Real quick, most efficient primes to reach slots. The common slot is it's a pretty easy choice. You got Silver Centurion, Deathlock, Hannibal, and Gordanian.
You know who we picked.
Although Deathlock and Hannibal are great figures, Silver Centurion's just
I do love
ahead.
Hannibal King, but yeah,
Silver Centurion, best common prime. Best uncommon prime, we have Sasquatch, Cerise, Brother Voodoo, and Slobo.
This was also...
even though Cerise is very good...
She's sick.
Brother Voodoo is
Brother Voodoo...
Yeah, okay.
Jesus.
How he passed the watch list is beyond me.
Rare slot, we got War Machine, another great piece. Magneto, an okay piece. Alyosha, a phenomenal piece. And Ravager's not a bad piece either. I've only played him once,
this
but
was
I did enjoy
probably the
it.
hardest one to vote for.
Alyosha versus War Machine. We actually debated this amongst ourselves, and this is the toughest slot in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
War Machine actually just got 2nd, and Alyosha barely edged out the win.
Alyosha,
I put my vote on Alyosha. As much as I love that War Machine, Alyosha just fits on a lot more teams. And
really
for his
cheap.
points, you get a lot.
I don't love that War Machine. I love Alyosha. There you go.
He's really cheap for what he does. Super rare slot, you have the Hyperion Prime, who actually just got top 16 at a super qualifier. A guy placed 16th with him. Jubilee, who's a handful of points of amazingness. I recently talked about her. Hobgoblin Prime, it's been a while since I've played with him or against him, but he's nuts. He pulse waves and gives tokens. He has great keywords, great abilities. He's very cheap. And then Blackfire, who's an okay piece, but not on the level of Hobgoblin or these other ones. We had 1 vote for Hobgoblin, 1 vote for Hyperion, but 3 votes for Jubilee. She's just she's just so cheap. You throw 20 more points on her, and I might pick probably Hyperion, probably Hobgoblin, but Jubilee for the points because I played.
If she wasn't a prime, I'd play an army of her.
The title is most efficient prime, and she is the most efficient prime.
Yeah. Well, I think Brother Voodoo's probably still Well, you mean for that slot, for
Yeah.
sure. So, yes, Silver Centurion, Brother Voodoo, Alyosha, and Jubilee were the 4 prime winners. And then last category of the day, I know it's taken a while, but we're going to wrap it up with most efficient Horde token or bystander token. And this is a pretty stacked category. We have a top 4 for this. Our nominees are Worker Spiders, who really snuck up on us and just came out in a
Yeah, we were like, oh crap.
in a starter set that when I'm doing our video review for it, and I look at that thing, I was like, who the fuck thought this thing was a good idea?
The same guy who thought Angry's Hammer was good. Someone needs to fire that guy.
I don't know. He's giving me good supplies for my team.
You know, you play War Machine Prime. You should be ashamed. But
I've never actually played
Worker Spider has Leap, Climb, Barrier, and Empower on a 10-point pog. Scotty's Warbot we all know and love or hate.
I love it.
Domineer Monk was my favorite pog from the Mage Knight, and it actually placed in that very first Super Qualifier, I think in top 3 or 4.
That's not the Pog.
Sorry, I clicked on it wrong.
And then you're looking at the dial. Like,
one of the teams in the top 8, I think, had Domineer Monk on their team. For only 12 points, he's got Flurry and Reflexes. That's really what is important about him. For just 12 points, you've got a 17 type and a Flurry who can initially get a damage out. So if you barely have a few points, he's not a bad option. You got Brago, who we talked about.
God,
Brago.
friggin' Brago.
Honestly, from 2 towers, Brago's probably the most point efficient piece there is, if you want to consider it a piece. It's only 25 points. It carries with phasing, and then it flips and turns into an 18 defend. 18 defend for
How
25
many figures have an 18 defend, Hunter?
And
Not that damn many.
18 defend and carry, and then factor in that it's 25 points.
And then factor in, it's a POC. It's a piece of paper, pretty much. Giving you 18 defense, and you're pissed about it.
Shadowfax is a nominee at 45 points.
Once again, hypersonic speed on a piece of paper. There you go.
Hypersonic horse.
Hypersonic carry ability, invulnerability. It is expensive, but it can keep away long enough to warrant its points.
Technically got 2 clicks.
Yeah, and then when you hit it, it flips into Charge, Quake, and Super Senses, so great piece.
Oh, that's not good.
Mud Golem. Austin and I both use these on our rock teams, actually.
I loved him.
And he has...
You slept on him a little, and then I played him against you.
Well, I actually had never seen him or really even looked through my Fear Itself stuff, and then when you played him, I was like, man, that guy's really good. I'm going to give him a second look. 20 points, Plasticity. If you stack them, they get poison.
No, you don't even have to stack them. It's just they can use poison targeting 1 character for each person in the stack.
No, when stack is greater than or equal to the number. You don't get that unless you have at least 2.
Or equal to. If you
No, you're not technically stacked unless you have 2.
Oh.
You're not stacked out with just 1.
Cheater.
That's something I had to learn. No, I thought it initially worked like that too.
It's silly.
When maxed, they deal penetrating poison. They still have freaking super senses and exploit. Plasticity, super senses, exploit.
What I used them for
20
was use them to slow down the trail of hypersonic people and make them go all the way around you.
That's exactly what I was doing with them too. And then on top of that, you got Power Plant. Oh, all of a sudden my Mud Golem is TKing my freaking
So stupid.
piece around. Oh, this Mud Golem's free action smoke
So
cloud.
stupid.
Oh, this Mud Golem is burying in my team for free.
So stupid.
It's nuts.
For 20 points.
Army Private is an 8-point piece that gives you willpower.
He is the man.
One of the good things about him is the fact that he can let you drop hammers, like you were saying earlier, Drew. He really is nice. I mean, 8-point willpower.
8-point willpower.
That's really all he does. But
And he's got a 10 attack and 1 damage.
and 5 range. And
I
a lot
gave
of
him
these don't.
Scotty's hammer, and I laughed, and I was like,
Exactly like that.
I can vouch. I was there. Air Force Airman barely made the cut. 10 points, also willpower. Just a slightly better.
Yeah.
He does have a great horde ability, though. If you stack them at 4, you're talking about 40 points. 40 points is not that much. When maxed, Air Force Airmen can use RCE and deals penetrating characters
That's so great.
that can use fly.
That's so great.
Pretty good piece, too. We all know that Worker Spider and Scotty's is going to be up there. 4th place was Mud Golems. Austin and I have both used them at important tournaments, and they paid off well.
Silly.
20 points
I voted
of
for him as
fillers.
well.
Yeah.
Brago got third place.
I definitely don't blame that one.
Worker Spider and Scotty were actually tied for second and first. So
Woo!
let's give first place to Worker Spider because
I could.
He
I don't
deserves
know.
it.
who do you
No.
think's the better out of
No.
Worker Spider and Scotty?
I'm gonna go with Scotty's Warbot.
Boo.
Scotty's Warbot on its own is like 30 points or whatever, but it's a running shot Pinsai, Indom, Invul, or Super Senses. I can't remember.
Super Senses.
It's a 10 movement, 11 attack, 18 Super Senses, 3 damage leadership, Indom, 7 range for 30 points.
I'm gonna give it to Worker Spider because he doesn't have a useless leadership.
I'm
Useless
also
leadership,
going to give it to Worker Spider only because he's only 10 points and he does just as much for his point cost, I think.
I think having another
2 to
3
1
damage
option.
penetrating attacker for 11 attack is stupid.
I wish we could just vote for both of them. You know what?
You know what? Give it to both of them.
Give it to both
It's
of
a
them.
tie!
So, sorry, I know that took longer than we expected. We probably could have split the
Coming up
comics
on
in the
3
the
hour
Clix. So
mark.
I'm
we'll
so
save Nova for next week, guys.
I
That's
love it
fine with
so
me.
much.
We will also save dial design, the featured dials. Next week we'll do featured dials for round 1 and 2. We are real quick gonna move it in community, and we'll go through real quick. And Drew will talk about give out assignment number 3 this week. What is your assignment for week number 3?
Design me a dial with a character, but I want a character with an ATA that has not been clicked before, so nothing that's been put out there.
The
Like,
ATA that hasn't been clicked, right?
the ATA.
Okay, so
The guy can be clicked. I don't,
all right, DC or Marvel?
Doesn't matter.
DC and Marvel only, though. No crazy offshoot stuff or.
No crazy offshoot
Okay.
stuff, I'd say.
So DC and Marvel Universe create us a character, and then create an ATA that goes with that character.
Kind of like...
That has that there is. What about? Do you want it to be a keyword that doesn't have an ATA yet, or can
yes,
it just
a
be
keyword that doesn't have an ATA
Okay.
yet.
So design an ATA with that figure as part of your submission. So we need a dial for the character, and we need an ATA for a keyword that doesn't currently have an ATA.
So kind of like how Wrecking Crew got theirs printed on their card.
Correct. And who knows? Maybe you could design something cool enough that somebody from WizKids sees it and throws it on a figure.
No, they have
Steals
a guy.
it.
They have a guy who sits there with a pencil and just scribbles.
No, the ATA will be Super Senses, Outwit, Exploit Weakness
For 1 point.
for 1 point.
And
And
it'll
it's
go
only
on.
available to some obscure character no one plays.
It'll go on. It'll go on like any Avengers.
Any team base.
It'll be the Avengers team.
They'll give it to Avengers
The
because
Avengers team base comes with the ATA.
they don't have enough ATAs as it is.
They only have 6.
Our YouTube channel, I have a Iron Man M10 breakdown on the rules explanations
Go
breakdown.
watch it.
And I break down. This was a good piece because not only does it let me explain how he gets to use Impervious and his trait, but explaining that lets me cover the steps of an attack and the steps of dealing damage, and that's something I wanted to cover, and so this kind of let me do 2 in 1. A lot of people really enjoyed it. Awesome, have you got to see it yet?
I haven't taken a look at it.
You
I
gotta
started
take a look
watching
at
it at work and I saw a little bit and
then. So people are really liking the rules explanation videos. We're going to get into testing the recording matches so that hopefully, no promises, but hopefully we can record a best build match or 2 for you guys next month when we do best build. Like I said, we're going to move comics section up to next week.
Although I really like Nova.
And those of you that send us email questions this week, I have not forgotten about them. I will hold them off until next week since our main topic took so long today. So thank Drew and Austin for being with me today.
Oh.
And apologize again for it being such a long cast today, but
Hope
we
you
had
enjoyed it.
a lot of awards to give out and a lot of these little gold statues to pass around.
Yeah,
and to mail out to people.
So we'll see you
Brother-
guys next Saturday.
See?
Brother Voodoo went home with like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah.